On. Yeah, so opening items, yeah, welcome. Did that. Let's just go around the room real quick and do introductions. And we have a couple people joining us online, it looks like as well. I'm Chris Wilson, Chair of Economic Opportunity Advisory Board.
I'm Mark Tanner and I'm the Commission Administrator.
I'm Brittany Melton, a voting member.
Randy Martin, representing the Moab Area Chamber of Commerce.
Melissa Jeffers, voting member.
Aaron Lindbergh, voting member, secretary.
Jasmine Duncan, voting member.
Melody McCandless, commissioner.
Megan.
Megan McFall with hashtag. I'm Emily Sutton with the Friends of the Moab Folk Festival.
Cassie Cobb with Friends of the Moab.
Scott Davis with the Moab Brewery.
Cora Phillips, Director, Chamber of Commerce. And Chancellor Horton, and I was. Laura Harris with the Moab Area Housing Task Force. Taylor Myers, Moab Area.
Thanks. And how about online? I see Ricky.
Hello, Ricky Epperson, Community Rebuilds. Hello from Uray. Sorry I couldn't be there today. I have Chandler, I think, in the room, I believe.
Yes. And Discover Moab. Just doing introductions.
That's us.
That's us. Great.
And you.
We're here. And me. And then Design Build. That's somebody else from Community Rebuilds, maybe?
Oh, that's.
That's just you. Got it. Awesome. Great. We're just finishing up introductions, so you all just say hi.
Oh, we are introducing.
Yeah, this is for
Rebecca McAllister. I went to the wrong building.
No worries. Thanks for being here.
0 people.
That's the other building.
Yeah.
And I'm Aaron, I like this.
Okay. We are ready to jump into presentations. We're actually a couple minutes early. Rebecca, you guys are the first on the list, so just take a minute and get ready. And if you'd like to come up and join us at the table, that would be great. And if you guys need a couple minutes, that's fine too. Let me just, as we're doing that, sort of give a little bit more of sort of introduction and sort of what the plan is for today. I think you all who are presenting today have seen the schedule. So you should know kind of like where we're trying to keep things in terms of schedule. And but the big thing I would say is we have many presentations today, and we'd like to keep things on schedule so that we can give, fair hearing and have time for questions with each of you. And so to do that, we need you all to keep your presentations very brief. So try to keep it to 4 minutes. That will give us a few minutes to ask you guys some questions. I think as I noted in the email, one question I want to ask everyone, so be prepared for it, is whether you want to be considered for partial funding. We have to put together a package of proposals that adds up to, on the rural county grant side, $200,000. And so that won't necessarily be easy with all of the different sets of numbers that we're looking at. So there's a strong likelihood that some folks might be offered the possibility of having partial funding, but we want to make sure that's something that works for you. And if you were to do so, could you go forward with your project with partial funding? So that'll be one of the things that we'll ask. And you'll have, later on in the process, as we get more specific, we can talk to you in detail, sort of outside of this context, about really specifically what that might look like, but we want to get a general sense of all of that today. I think that's it. Are you guys ready to go?
Yeah, I'm not gonna do slides. They
Great.
were pretty simple visual idea anyways, but
Perfect.
not pertinent. Who's doing the timing?
You.
Okay.
I just realized, Rebecca, sorry, one last housekeeping item before we jump into the presentation. So we did do conflicts of interest disclosures, ex parte communication. So this is for board members. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to disclose?
I'm a member of the Moab Area Chamber of Commerce, so I'll exclude myself from any discussion on the chambers.
I am a board member of the Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks. So I've already recused myself from voting on the artesian application. just because of business connections to Rebecca. Anyone else? Okay, and any ex parte communications that we need to disclose? I think we know already that like Melissa and I at least have been in contact with many of the applicants outside of our meetings. And so we've done so in their capacity as members of the subcommittee and.
I mean, I may have briefly talked to the guy from Castle Valley Farms on the phone about a goat and, you know, mentioned that they would be presenting, but that was the extent.
Totally fine. Yeah, I think we just over disclose rather than under disclose, but none of that sounds like problematic.
Lots of conversations, no personal interest.
Great, okay. So with that all taken care of, Rebecca, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So just to start, I wanted to set the stage of this project and where it's located. So the name of the project is called The Press, and we are buying the Times Independent building, which is Times Independent and Desert Thread. So if you can envision that on just down the street. The building will be remodeled and updated in order to house a couple different businesses. So Desert Thread will stay on location. We're super excited about Artesian, which is a business that I own that's retail, will move into the space. Moss Cafe, which we probably all know and love at this point, will open a second location. So keeping location number 1, second location moves into the building. And the piece that we're presenting to you, asking for grant funds, is a collaboration between Moss Cafe and myself. We're opening a commercial kitchen, which we'll use for our own business needs, like it will support Moss Cafe's food needs, and we'll have a grab and go. The goal is to have an in-between foodie option that we don't currently have in town, so more just another option focusing on like healthy, easy, grab and go, affordable, just trying to fill a gap that we see. And the part that really we're excited about as far as the community aspect with the kitchen is being able to open it up to new foodie creative artisans in the town, in the community. So for example, people that would love to sell their goods and they just maybe don't have all the resources to rent commercial space or fund a retail space on their own. So our goal is to be kind of an incubator and a platform for makers in the foodie ecosystem. And really supporting that from a lot of different layers, but potentially from the ground up, somebody that has an idea. We are wanting to take the Moab Made business model where we work with artists and help them grow their own brands and their own collection of goods if they want that. We're also planning to have like a market area for this style of creative foodie world. So selling like breads from bread makers and jams from jam makers. You can kind of envision that like local makers market within the press. We also have a space that's pretty cool in the back of the building that used to be where all the presses were for the past 100 years. And that will be a flex room, we're calling it. So if nothing's going on, it's a spot where you can come and have your coffee and grab some food and meet a friend, like a little community hub spot. But we also want to open it up to a lot of local community events. So artisan workshops, business, tax, education meetings, a whole really kind of unlimited potential for that space. So not sure how many minutes that was, but
Got 10 seconds.
okay, the goal is that it's very creative and very community oriented, the whole space. The end.
Thank you. can I start by asking the question I'm asking everyone?
Yeah.
So yeah, would partial funding, is that something you guys would like to be considered for?
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great, thank you. And we have about 5 minutes to ask questions, so members of the board, please jump in. Can you tell us a little bit about what you want to use the money for specifically?
Yeah, we
know it's a good
really,
budget,
on the
but-
budget that we presented, we tried to really be specific about like kitchen equipment that will help us further just our needs in the kitchen to make it more of that commercial usable space. So it could be like extra ovens, extra equipment, just to turn it into something more usable for more than just our specific business needs. Also, just the infrastructure that we would need in order to create a smooth operating system with that. So an online reservation system within the building, just a system that we can keep things like just smooth operating system for working with different foodie makers and on the event side as well.
Thanks.
I've got a couple questions. The shared kitchen, is there a demand for a shared kitchen in Moab?
Yeah, there really is, and that's why we opened up this idea.
Mhm.
There are, right now we have like, youth garden is one option, which is meeting a lot of nonprofit needs, but
Mhm.
they get a lot of requests that they can't keep up with. So there's that need, and then we're trying to really specifically focus on people that we can more partner with long-term, so
Mhm.
not necessarily 1 hour here and there, but makers that want to grow their business in the food industry. Yeah, so we've had maybe like, I want to say 10 to 18 people that we've already connected with.
Oh, great. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that shows demand. And then in your write-up, you talked about a SBA loan. Has that been approved and funded?
Approved, yes, closing by the end of May.
Okay, great. Congratulations. Yeah, that's quite the undertaking.
That actually happened yesterday. I was like, okay, I can go to the grant and breathe and say,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, that has been.
Thank you.
So you have, in Moab, you're moving out of that, moving into this new location.
Moab Main stays where
Oh,
it is. So
okay.
Artesian was the business right across the street, right
Right.
next to the bookstore. And so that, the owner of that building is opening up a business. So we had lost our lease, which prompted this whole thing. So
I see.
Artesian will move in, which is also, we work with local artists and print on apparel. So that will move into like the front space.
And so, like, I guess I was wondering how much square footage was like dedicated to the retail space versus the
Like
kitchen
this.
space?
I
Space?
want to say without it being 100%, like 60% of the building, like kind of the back 3/4, excluding Desert Thread, will be committed to cafe. So it will be coffee, cafe, flex room, kitchen,
Mhm.
and then back like 60% of the building.
I see. Then, one of the things we look at here is like how much revenue you're going to be generating, but those are always like questions on like how, we don't know,
Right.
right? And that's why I was wondering like on the Moab Made, if it was like, you can be like, well, on this square footage, we're making this much, and if we expand, we can like
Right.
expand on an order of magnitude. I didn't know if you had any ideas, anything like that.
I think everything is definitely projections and forecasting right now. Yeah, I didn't include that in the budget
Okay, good.
aspect, but definitely the goal is to.
$1 billion. Taxable income, very good. Yeah.
I'll try.
Yeah.
How many employees?
For the new project committed to that space, I think we're looking at least like 12 new jobs just to start. And definitely, I would say this whole project has so much room to grow. Like this would be foundational if we, get to where we want it to be, then we can add bakers and keep that growing.
Because you'll have employees and then separately you'll have artisans that are food makers that are kind of like independent businesses that would be working with you.
Exactly,
So-
like we'll probably have a 1099 set up and then our payroll.
We'll check for one last question. If there's one. Rebecca, thanks so much.
Thank
Really
you so much,
appreciate
guys.
it. Megan, I think you're up next, Ashton.
Well, I have a presentation, but I don't necessarily need it. At this point in time.
Okay.
Probably be more hassle to do that. This first, so, some of you know me from years gone by, I was SBDC at Paris. Since I've left Utah State University, I've opened a company. Or I should say an extension of, existing companies, called Ashtag that covers the South or the Four Corners region. And I have been working in Grand County the whole time, just on the private level. For many years, my companies have been doing a lot of different things, but one of the things is workforce strategy and workforce development. And over the years, we've become the intermediary for about 109, at least that was the last time I counted, at 109 apprenticeship programs. We've not brought those into Utah, and this will be the first that we'd like to bring into Utah is our construction apprenticeship programs. There is some small adjustments to make to them, as far as adding additional training time and things like that to meet the Utah requirements, but they're all already approved by the Department of Labor and are operating in other states as active construction apprenticeship programs. I've proposed within we're calling it trades, the trades readiness and development for employment success program. 6 different construction related apprenticeship programs. The idea, and I've seen this need over the entire time of here, whether I've had construction companies come to me directly, or I've been asked to develop or bring in these construction apprenticeship programs for years. Many of you know that the construction industry is in much need of workforce. Nationwide, we're about 500,000 short workforce wise. In the state of Utah, we run about the same pace as far as the national average on numbers. But according to the DWS, our actual rural areas such as Moab, Sangamon County, Embry, this entire area actually runs shorter than the average in Utah. And so by bringing in apprenticeship programs where we can attract those that want to go into this industry, where they're able to work in the industry, maintain standard wages while they're going through school and obtaining that licensure, can help build essentially that workforce, but also give people reasons to stay in the area and develop that skill and help kind of fill the housing shortage or the construction shortage and the workforce that's needed. And so they estimate, I know I have a high ask, but part of that, or the majority of that, over half of that, it goes into actual scholarships for people to go into these apprenticeship programs. Reason being is, as you all know, it's the economic situation for most people right now is like quite difficult. We hope that in the future for sustainability, that we are able to develop and have the statistics within this first year of operation utilizing these funds to be able to say, this is an incredible program. These are the 80%, which is our average job placement rate in other states for these construction. And to be able to go after other workforce development grants on a federal, state, and even some of the other ones that are foundational. There is some other grants coming out once that they are established that we would like to go after using this program as the foundation And essentially the match for those foundation grants as well. Are there any questions?
Would you like to be considered for partial funding?
I can be considered for partial funding, yes. The question is what is the impact that you guys are looking for the fund? Partial funding can, if we take the scholarships out, that means we stand it up, we get the apprenticeships in the area, we work with the contractors, we get them listed on the approved training provider list, which will allow DWS to help their employees cover those costs. It also allows them to tap into other beneficial programs that are available in those kind of situations. A lot of that legwork will be done. But as far as getting students into the program, we will get students into the program. But like we said, the economic conditions kind of hinder a lot of that. And so that would be my concern. So is it to get the program up and running so it's established and can help contractors? Yes. If you want to have actual numbers and jobs created, and this is the impact of estimated at about $2 million actually of economic development between salaries and things like that through these apprenticeship programs. That's a different story. And so that's what you need to look at is what you want to accomplish. But yes, it can be considered for. So, yes.
And then, can you remind me, you were asking for 200,000, correct?
I did 200,000 just.
And then, the number of people that you were estimating would be in that program was like something,
I put 50 to 25. If,
Right.
when we sat down and did the numbers, and I wanted to go a little bit lower, so I didn't exaggerate. By the time we bring in the programs that are already existing, like Custom Fit, DWS has 2 grants right now that are paying for apprenticeship programs, that once we get those businesses on there, we anticipate about 100.
so is DWS actually helping pay for the, like the time of these apprentices?
Okay, so
What if-
the businesses, they're not. The businesses can go for the OJT program that would pay up to 90 days and in 6 months, depending on whether those businesses qualify for that program. I do believe that having a program that helps them cover some of those costs is important. But in order to qualify for any of those types of grants, you actually have to have an established program and have numbers to say we trade 20 a semester, or we trade on average this amount, so that you can actually have statistics. And so that's why establishing the program is important, and to be able to get those statistical numbers, so then we can go to the EDA, or we can go to the different agencies or even the foundations and say, hey, look, this is the impact we're having in this area. These are how many students we're training. We're taking them either right out of high school who want to go in here, or we're taking people that didn't have this as an option before because they can do an apprenticeship program because they're paid through the whole time. They couldn't leave school or leave a job or reduce hours in order to go to school.
So the 200,000 is basically establishing the program.
It's establishing the program, and it's paying the scholarships for the students to go through the program.
Where do you get the students from? You mentioned that a couple of times, that, yeah, we want to come getting students, but if, if there's a high school senior right now who wants to be an apprentice with a construction company, I would think they could just go right to the construction company, right? As opposed to going through this type of program.
They could go right to the construction company, but does the construction companies in the area actually have an apprenticeship program established, registered with the Department of Labor and registered with the Utah Apprenticeship Program? It's quite a process to do all of that. It's quite a process to establish the classwork and the requirements and the hours and everything like that. This, we can go to the construction company and say, we've got the classes, the theoretical, we have all of that stuff covered. All you have to do is the training on your back end. And have all that in place. And so when we take the construction company to the as the Utah apprenticeship and the Department of Labor, then we say, okay, we've already approved our theoretical. We're now going to be the intermediary, similar to say like Utah State, right? We're gonna be the intermediary for your company. And we will make sure the theoretical is done. They're going to do the on-the-job training and then they fill in that aspect. So they're not doing all of the other on the back end. Cause it's actually quite costly by the time you develop all the classes and get them
Yeah.
accredited. And our programs are accredited.
Right. Cool. Thank you.
Check for one more question. That's one. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time, Megan. So I think community rebuilds is next. Okay.
I do have slides.
Okay.
So go ahead and share my screen also. So, I guess I don't need to unmute on here because you have that one going.
As long as we're not hearing echoes and stuff, it sounds like we're good. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Chandler. I'm an apprentice at Community Rebuilds. I also have Ricky, our executive director, on Zoom. And I'm here to present our proposal, which is titled the Workforce Housing Program Expansion. And so it's probably no surprise for anyone who knows anything about community rebuilds that the basis of our proposal is in housing. It's well documented that housing, the lack of housing and the lack of affordable housing specifically in this area causes undue economic strain, both for employees and employers. And so this is something that we've been focused on for 15 years at this point. We've built 79 homes in 5 different counties, mostly Grand County. And this has all for the most part been using the USDA low income model, which has been very successful, but is also very restrictive. And so it has really only been able to serve people under specific circumstances. And we're kind of at a crossroads right now where we want to try to open up our programming, still continue this low income model as long as possible given funding, but to also start to develop frameworks for some new program branches that will allow us to create more heterogeneous affordable housing in the area. And that leads us to 2 targeted initiatives that we would like to use this grant money to work on developing framework for. The first would be a more moderate income program focused on dual income households. And then the second, it would be partnering with local businesses to build deed restricted employer insured housing. Slides. Oh, no.
Oh, cool.
You look beautiful from my view.
Okay,
I don't think it happened. Wait, maybe I paused. More time and if not, that's okay. Can do it. I'll just leave it out of. It's not a big deal, but I'll just.
That's
show
okay.
this
Yeah,
over
that works.
here like that. So, okay, I think I was started to talk about this budget breakdown, so what we would use the funds for. So it would be primarily for the staff time needed to develop these 2 initiatives. And that would include all sorts of different things, the research and development, determining new financing options, since we've been using one type of loan for so long. There could also be, we anticipate some legal costs for an attorney to look over the program materials. And then potentially also some document procurement from other successful programs. And then the last little bit would be marketing and outreach to identify a new pool of homeowners. As well as working with those local businesses. So I think that was probably the end of the
Perfect.
time. And I just put some other of the economic benefits that we anticipate up there. And yeah, we can open it up for questions.
Awesome. Are you open to partial funding?
Yes. Yeah, I had discussed with Ricky this earlier, and we think that any thing that can be used for matching funds for other grants is great, and we're definitely open for that.
Thank you.
When you say allocated to staffing, I'm assuming that that's the percentage of your current staff that you're gonna divert to look at this initiative, not new staff. Is that correct? Or no?
So divert,
Meaning it's gonna pay for the portion of the current existing staff's time allocated to this project, not new headcount to staff. Is that ish?
that's my understanding, and Ricky is confirming
Yes.
that.
Yes.
As we learn.
I just didn't know if it was a new hire or if it was, we've got the staff, but if we're gonna peel them away to look at new initiatives, then we're gonna.
Yes, it
Staff.
will be current staff for the most part. With all the different grant funding sources we have to allocate our time for whatever is funded. So it's been really hard to work on program expansion for that reason. But we think we're in a good place, and it would involve several different members of our team to develop these programs. And as far as partial funding, if one was speaking more we think they're very much both urgent to the county's needs. But if one was more of a priority, that would also be a good way to partially fund these initiatives of program expansion.
That's sort of why I was asking is if you did get a reduction in funding, you're not out a head count, you're just reducing the time of current staff that they can dedicate.
Yes, we do think it would be, we stack them for a reason, because I think it will involve, especially when working with other agencies that are, providing programs like these. So with document procurement or having a lawyer on retainer to review documents, we figured it would save money. So might as well get them both developed, because they both seem very feasible and achievable.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I know you guys are facing challenges with affordable housing, and is this a response to me and Ricky have worked together before planning in general. But I know you guys, what I want to highlight is you've faced challenges building in Grand County, and this is kind of addressing those challenges so that you're able to, so you can keep able to run your program, right?
I would say that we've always wanted to get into multifamily. We've always talked about going into moderate income, but since COVID has happened and the wages have increased significantly, we would really like to house more workers. So with these two initiatives, we would be housing more workers, and that is at the heart of our mission. But I mean, off the record, I don't know. It's a little scary to be federally funded right now, and we definitely need more eggs in our basket. So there's an element of this is the perfect time for us to come up with a resiliency plan to continuously keep building workforce housing in our community.
Good point.
And part of your program is really training people. I've always wondered, do you know offhand how many people now are in the construction industry because of your guys' program? You said you built over almost 80 homes. I think I just wanted to know if you knew that kind of impact as well.
We did an assessment survey once for our Living Building Challenge, and it came back with hundreds. But not all of them are building, but it's cool to see You know, the housing authority hires all of our alumni, and that's what's been able to keep them building. And many of our subcontractors do the same. But, you know, then some people end up in county offices like Gabe Wojtek or running the radio station or so I got a testimony once from just personally that was community rebuilds is the best thing that ever happened to Moab. And I was like, wow, I was just at the grocery store and this lady had said, yeah, you guys just bring the best people to this town and it really has helped shape us. And that was amazing. I mean, there's been, I would say we've had like, it's hard to calculate how many students we've had because we've had so many different programs. You know, for the shorter term students and the longer term, it's probably 2,500, 3,000 people. And they all take infill jobs while they're here. They take infill housing while they're here. So it's not, you know, taking full houses generally. It's just kind of like, I'll rent this room from you. So the impact is really good. Thank you for mentioning that.
For one more question.
Yeah, I've got one. So in your phase one research and development, your third bullet point, issue a call for potential homeowners and evaluate applicants' financial profiles to determine affordability, whether for a traditional mortgage or a construction to permanent. So do you guys see you guys going into like a advisory, like a mortgage loan advisory position then? By doing this? And if so, how is it different than what the mortgage companies already in Moab are doing?
No, I think we'd be working with local lenders, I would hope. And if those aren't feasible, the problem is, and the reason why we've been so seductively tied to the program that we're in is the 502 direct loan. There's nothing like it in the nation. We've looked and looked, you know, we were trying to come up with something for our Hopi reservation revolving loan program, and there's just nothing similar that's subsidized to the household income with no money down and bad credit issues. And the problem with 80% or below is they don't do construction to permanent loans. So there's really not a huge resiliency plan for low income owner builder programs. But with moderate income, which is a huge need, and it's been really hard not to serve that population, right?
Yeah.
We all agree. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
And so we should be able to find, you know, if we can keep the cost down low, we do all sorts of things to do that. I could go into detail about the relationships we have. We have a pro bono structural engineer, which is amazing. We draft the plans in-house. We take care of all the fundraising to cover all the bookkeeping for the construction project, which is just the worst. So every step of the way, not only, you know, training people through this labor exchange, we're reducing the cost to make the house better, more energy efficient, more long lasting and more affordable. So ideally we'll be able to, you know, come up with some program parameters so that we can really identify, you know, who we're looking to serve and who deserves, you know, all of our efforts. Cause, you know, it's going to be a matter of all of our donors and everyone involved that's supporting this. So if the need is not there, we certainly don't want to help people build a home if they don't need us.
Right.
That's the biggest thing that's going to take some time to develop. But then yes, to answer your question, it's really determining networking to find a loan product. We don't have the money to provide a loan. We're going to help do financial counseling as we always have to get families credit and debt and income ratios all in a great place and just getting prepared for a mortgage, you know.
Yeah, got it.
That can take years. So
Yeah, and your first two bullet points address, you know, doing an analysis to figure out, is there a need in the community? How many families might have a need for this service? And then come up with the parameters. So yeah, very well written. Thank you.
Thank you. Chandler?
Chandler and Ricky, is your project solely in Grand County then?
For this, yes. Yes. Yep.
This money will not go to other counties?
I'm sorry, what?
This money wouldn't go to other counties, maybe Southern Valley or any of that?
No, the only other county we're working with right now is San Juan, and that's specifically Spanish Valley, San Juan County, and Bluff. But Bluff, we're really trying to get a self-help program going in that area with the low income. And that's all for a purpose of getting the self-help program jobs and training programs on the Navajo Nation for that community, you know. So that's kind of a side thing that we've been working on for a really long time. COVID put a big break in that, but we do work down in that area. But as far as employer housing or moderate income, I don't see that being, we would develop that here, use that here. And of course, if there was anything that we can replicate, we would love to, but this is our,
Thanks, Ricky. Thanks, Chandler. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
thank you.
Cassidy, Friends of Folk, Friends of the Moab Folk Festival.
Hello,
Hi.
how are y'all doing?
Good.
Thanks for this opportunity. I'm gonna set my own timer because it helps me. So I'm Cassie, I already introduced myself. Friends of the Moab Folk Festival is a nonprofit org that's been in existence for 23 years. So we have a proven business record in the community of Moab. So we produce the Moab Folk Festival, which happens in the fall. We bring about 1,500 people, give or take. That's our capacity at the ballpark. The Moab Free Concert Series, which is directly benefits the community, and we also do many free education and community outreach programs in the schools. What we plan to do is to use any awarded funds to grow and promote arts and culture visitation to the Moab Folk Festival, the Moab Free Concert Series, and of course Moab, Utah, creating a win-win for our organization and for our community. I got this great email yesterday from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, NEA, said, in our nation, arts and culture industries add $1.2 trillion to the economy, or 4.2% of GDP. In the state of Utah, the last time the Utah Cultural Alliance did a study, they estimated 17.8 billion in sales that the cultural industry generates, and 9% of Utah GDP. And the whole point of that is I feel like that's a place we can build out in this community, especially when we're struggling to find visitors to our community. Specific uses of the funds would be for business marketing and for salaries. The business marketing would include website upgrades, social media ads, and video content that we will create to create a Visit Moab page on our websites. That would feature local business sponsors. We've been working with over 30 for the majority of our tenure, and also using language to increase time and activities in Moab. We're going to target like our legacy or our recurring people, and also new customers. The salaries would be Emily and I. It's a party of two at our organization, and so also the performers that we bring to town, and we're dedicated to using local contractors whenever possible, goods and services. So our timeline is we're going to create content this year. Our entire season begins June 27th with the Free Concert Series, and we've already engaged a videographer and photographer to work with to create content to use next year, and that will end in November when we finish our last school program at HMK. Over the winter, we're gonna do website updates and start building out that content as we see fit. And then at the beginning of next year, probably first half of next year, we're gonna get commitments from business sponsors, which we do anyway, and we'll feature on our website and launch the updated content. The intended outcomes and impact are increased attendance at the festival and Free Concert Series, increased visit length and visitor activities for folks that are coming here. Both of our events take place in the targeted growth seasons by the Moab Office of Tourism. So summer and fall, the Free Concert Series happens in the summer. And maybe someone's not coming just for the Free Concert Series, but it could be icing on the cake, and obviously the fall. So we estimate $1 million in economic activity generated by the festival. It would support the 2 full-time employees and 15 local contract, at least 15 local contract employees. And bottom line, it would sustain our free education and community outreach programs that benefit our community. If awarded, the funds would offset increased expenses. We're already seeing a 20% increase in our expenses since 2022. And we expect that to double. Yeah, and decreasing funds, and I just ask that you recommend us for funding so we can be a continued asset to the community. Sure.
Are you guys interested in partial funding?
Of course, yes. I mean, we're already, you know, contracting with folks to do photography and videography, and so that would be like a really great piece. To be able to complete that. Perfect. Thank you.
How many subscribers do you guys have on your, or how many visitors do you have on your website?
I don't have that answer. We have pretty good engagement. We've really been, especially since Emily's come on board, like really built our engagement on social media. And so I don't have those numbers, but it's grown. I would say, like, at least on social media, I know it's at like more than 6,000. We started out with, you know, hundreds. And the idea too is to kind of diversify the age group of our attendees, because the folkies are aging out. And I'm trying to like program for younger folks who might want to come here and do extra activities. People already stay an average of 3 days in Moab, and we estimate that the economic impact for just rooms and meals is over $1,000 per day. So if we were to set a goal to increase up to our capacity, which is about 400 more attendees, that's $400,000 more dollars than we're already bringing into the community. And the last time we calculated that, it was about 900 grand, just in rooms and meals. That's not getting trinkets at Moab Made and buying stuff from local vendors or getting gas or whatever it is. So.
Can the venues hold another 40% in attendance?
Yes, I believe so. Well, part of it is because typically we have one sold out day and the other day not so much, depending on what's going on.
Sure.
So we have a capacity up to 1,500, and we haven't met a sold out both days. So that's a goal.
Okay.
Yeah. The majority of tickets that we do sell are the 2-day passes though, and the Friday night. So people are coming and staying for the weekend. The average stay is about 3 days, and we'd like to increase that. So.
Pretty good too.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys.
Great, awesome, sure.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Next up is Grant County EMS. Pretty great.
They're out in the.
Thanks, Barb.
Yep.
Did you see like the original schedule had two?
Right there, here.
Yeah, that was our mistake.
You don't want to be on the hot seat if they're.
No.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Jasmine caught it. Thanks, Jasmine.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
So we got like 4 minutes for presentation. And then
Yeah,
Q&A.
are we ready?
It's all yours.
Perfect. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm McKay Vowles. I'm the clinical director for Grand County EMS. Today's with me, we got Andy Smith, who's our executive director, and then Jen Williams, who is our administrative coordinator. We're here today to ask for your support in launching an innovative and world-class destination EMS education program. An immersive training experience designed to elevate emergency medical care and bring national attention to the incredible learning environment that we have here right in Moab. Rural EMS agencies across the country are facing a mounting crisis. Chronic staffing shortages, limited access to advanced training, and geographic isolation are weakening the foundation of emergency care in underserved areas. This problem is particularly acute in Moab, where EMS providers must be prepared for a wide range of complex and often dangerous situations in remote environments. Literally, as we are giving this, we have somebody trapped underneath a Jeep on Golden Spike that our crews and search and rescue and a helicopter are trying to rescue. Compounding the issue is the lack of recurring and dependable financial support. EMS agencies rely on inconsistent funding streams, making it difficult to invest in long-term training, infrastructure, or plan for sustainable growth. This unpredictability hinders our ability to train, recruit, and retain qualified personnel. In addition to strengthening our EMS system, our destination training program utilizes our surplus hotel and lodging capacity during the tourism off-season. From late fall through early spring, many local accommodations sit vacant, creating an untapped opportunity for short-term student housing. By hosting EMS training programs during this off-peak period, we're not only provide convenient housing for participants, but also infuse the local economy with consistent, dependable income for our hospitality partners during their slowest months. This aligns public safety goals with economic development, supporting local businesses while expanding access to critical training. We're also proud to announce a partnership with Utah State University, which allows our EMS students to receive college credit for their training. This collaboration opens the door to a range of financial aid resources, including the GI Bill, FAFSA, and other scholarship opportunities, making the program more accessible to veterans, recent high school graduates, and individuals looking to enter or advance in the EMS profession. By aligning our curriculum with a respected academic institution, we're not only validating the program, but we're also building a sustainable pipeline for our EMS workforce development, grounded in both experience and academia. Our long-term vision for a destination EMS program is structured, strategic, and ambitious. In year one of the program, which would be 2026, we will launch a high-quality EMT program focused on foundational training in emergency medicine. In year two, we'll expand to include an advanced EMT certification, building on initial skills with more advanced patient care and critical thinking. Years 3 and 4 will introduce technical rescue courses, including avalanche rescue, rope rescue, and swift water rescue, leveraging Moab's unique natural landscape as a real-world training ground. Finally, by year 5, our goal is to offer a full paramedic program, the culmination of a comprehensive EMS education pathway that will serve not only Utah, but the entire Western United States. With each phase, we strengthen our ability to train, recruit, and retain the next generation of EMS professionals. As the destination EMS program matures, it is designed to become financially self-sustaining through student tuition. With a projected enrollment of over 100 students annually across multiple course offerings, tuition revenue will cover instructional costs, equipment maintenance, and program administration. Combined with our university partnership and access to financial aid channels, this model ensures broad accessibility while reducing long-term reliance on grant funding. In short, your investment now lays the foundation for a permanently sustainable training center that continues to grow and serve both EMS professionals and the local economy for years to come.
Thanks. The first question I've been asking everyone is whether you guys are interested in partial funding. For you all, it's a little different because you guys are the one ask that's like 100% clearly just for the larger grant, the RCOG. So I guess the question for you would be like, is there a small component of this that you'd want to be considered for that's under the $200,000? Or is this like, you guys are just, you're in that big category, that's what it costs to do this program?
I think to do this program the correct way, we would need the full ask. I think at a partial ask, it would be hard to accomplish everything that we wanted to accomplish.
Great. And just so you know, the state may also decide to offer you guys partial funding. So that's something out of our hands that will, if you go forward on that side, we might run into that later down the line, but that will be a future conversation.
I had one question, and that was, I know like recently you're having problems financially. And there's a pretty significant match to this ask. Is that feasible? Are you coming up with that match, or how are you coming up with the match?
What I found is there's other grants out there that are really happy to fund equipment, things like that. Those are the kinds of things that we do need to purchase for this training. So to find those matching funds to help cover that kind of stuff is pretty easy to do. Yeah.
Are there programs anywhere else in the country that offer something similar to what you guys are creating here?
So about 15 years ago, we had to bring paramedics to Moab, right? So for a long time, we were an EMT only agency, and then we got to the point where the level of care needed in Moab was we needed paramedics, but there was nowhere offering close by where we could send our staff to. So our staff started attending a destination partially online, partially in-person didactic program out of Boston.
Mhm.
And myself and about 75% of our paramedics in Moab have all gone to that course.
Okay.
And so we would be, the course has now been running for 15 years. It's been wildly successful. And it's in Brockton, Massachusetts. So if I had the choice between, I'm gonna go into a paramedic program, and so a portion of the course is online, and you do some of the coursework online. And then when you fly out to Boston, we flew out twice for 2 different periods to do our hands-on skills portion. You know, if it was up to me, I would definitely pick Moab, Utah over Brockton, Massachusetts
yeah.
to do my hands-on skills training. And that program's been wildly successful. They probably have anywhere in the ballpark of 150 to 250 paramedic students at a time,
Okay.
constantly revolving around it.
Can you give an idea as to how much that cost, like to go out
the
to that
program?
program? Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you exactly. So when I went, tuition was 8,500, and then the travel costs were about 15 to 2,500 per time that I went.
I think it's up to.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I saw it was about 15,000 by the time they included food, travel and membership.
yeah, and there's a waiting list to get into that program.
Who would the trainers be? Do we have that capacity already built up?
Yeah,
here,
so,
or-
I'm the clinical director for the department. Part of my responsibility is all the education and training for the department to include, we already are hosting annual EMT and advanced EMT courses, right? So we just wrapped up an EMT course that when we listed it, it was sold out in less than an hour, and the waiting list was sold out in less than an hour. So we have this high demand here. We have trainers, we have the state certifications and the state qualifications already to do all of this. It is now we just need the funding and the capacity to grow essentially what we are already doing.
And add those other elements that we want to add into the
Yeah.
program. What are,
As far as matching funds, and maybe this is a question for Mel, can the county be a matching fund for this, or that's a no-go?
Kind of good, but I think they have some matching funds, so I don't think that they need the
Okay.
county to, but. I mean, they think the county could, I don't think they have anything in their budget, but it's not like they can't change their budget if there's something.
Did the county give them funds recently?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, recently they've been given funds, you think there's some other entities out there that would, like they were saying, for equipment and stuff, so they have matching funds.
people love to support equipment, things like that. They like to buy things.
They don't wanna pay salaries, but they
Yeah.
wanna pay for things, so.
So is the idea of this to kind of like be self-sustaining, or is it to like add other revenue so it can boost or it can fund other programs?
I mean, both, yeah, I mean, the program should absolutely sustain itself once we hit a certain student threshold with tuition dollars, but then also, we are definitely looking at this to be an additional revenue source for EMS. And a lot of this equipment and stuff, so we use all of this training equipment to train new EMTs and new advanced EMTs and hopefully one day paramedics. But then we have, almost 40 people on staff right now that we are continually training every single month. So all of this equipment and all of the training all kind of just intertwines.
It also could benefit in the fact that it also lines up people to work for us, right? And so, and those people, a lot of those people, we found some really good success recruiting of some of our high school programs we've had recently. But also getting people here that are invested and interested to stay, have a job at EMS, if they come here and train and they enjoy it. Probably likely to stay at some point if we have an opening, right? But as I think I'm one of the only medics that works for us that wasn't trained through the Boston program. I was trained in Utah County, but it's a great program. It's in high demand. There's a couple others across the country. And it's a great model. We were kind of working on this. We've been working on this off and on for 5 or 6 years anyways. And then this is a great opportunity to help launch that.
Thank you guys so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Are you doing the chamber
I am.
where you're at?
Okay.
Join me for moral support.
Sure. Put your hands in, as long as you're a cheerleader.
I got you.
Thanks, thank you.
Hello, my name is Cora Phillips, and I'm currently serving as the Executive Director for the Moab Area Chamber of Commerce. Today, I'm here to ask for $40,000 to support our 2026 January Grand Business Summit. The Grand Business Summit is an annual opportunity for Moab businesses and community leaders to join together in discussions relevant to the challenges and opportunities within the Grand County economy. It's a high-impact event designed to foster business growth, workforce development, and strengthen our economy for the long term. At the Chamber of Commerce, we address the collective needs of businesses, of the business community, explore shared solutions to our challenges, and examine opportunities to optimize our economy. We bring business leaders, stakeholders, and subject matter experts to the table. We develop shared vision, and we deliver results. In hosting this event annually in January, we will position businesses for the season ahead with emerging market trends, economic data, and strategies to optimize efficiency and our profits. There will be space for business leaders to collaborate and form partnerships. In leveraging our resources as a community, we can be more effective and yield greater success to boost our economy. Businesses will be in a better position to increase their payrolls, invest in their employees, and place members of our community in a position to thrive. Through information sharing and facilitated discussions at the Grand Business Summit, we can foster future success, not just for the chamber, but for everyone here today.
Thank you. Partial funding?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Of course, yeah. The full amount is desired.
Really? Thanks. Go ahead. Oh, did you have a
Oh, no.
question? Sorry. I mean, anything, like, I think a lot of us are familiar with the Business Summit. Is there anything that you guys are trying to sort of like do differently with it that you want to change, or is this kind of just like to make sure it happens, basically?
Absolutely. I think a lot of times it's just training or people talking at you when you go to a business summit. For me, like when I worked in emergency management, you have to bring all the stakeholders together to have conversations and bring those subject matter experts to the table, people that are seeing how the sausage is made. Because that's the reality of in rural Utah. We don't have all the resources available and we have to work together to make things happen. You know, we talking in this room today, business leaders are coming together to make things happen, to alleviate or mitigate those shortfalls that we have in our community. So really fostering those initiatives to drive decision-making and solutions.
Other questions? Thank you so much, Cora.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
The Moab Area Task Force, you guys ready?
I requested to log into the Zoom.
Yeah, so
Who's that?
give me 1 sec. Yeah. I'm just ready. Yeah.
Rockies, huh?
Yeah, they're bad, but.
It's historically bad, huh?
I'm still a fan though, too.
Listen, half the sports teams that I like, if they had to be good as a requirement. Come on.
Well, they couldn't always be good.
Yeah.
They can't be the winner.
Not every
Worst. Yeah, not everybody can win.
My parents were at the first ever Rockies game.
Oh, is that right?
Have to be a fan.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, okay, I'm Caitlin Myers, I'm the chair of the Moab Area Housing Task Force.
I'm Laura Harris, used to be the chair of the Housing Task Force, now I'm just a member. I guess I'm the lead of the subcommittee for the dashboard.
Yeah, so we are requesting $8,500 to build out a second phase to expand this housing dashboard that we have already put together on moabhousing.com. This website has been around and is a huge collaboration between the Housing Task Force and the Grand County Local Homeless Council Kind of backing up the Housing Task Force is a voluntary body created by interlocal agreement between city and county to advocate and educate about housing, kind of bring all the players together and to help write and implement the Moab Area Housing Plan. That's why we're created, and that's kind of our primary goal. So this data dashboard, as it exists right now, screenshot, goes through data, starting with a community housing survey we did last year, has information about the data, and then we're trying to build out like a goal tracking for the housing plan. So it's not just another plan that sits on the shelf. Our goals with this dashboard, just generally, it's to disseminate information, you know, we are only as good as the data that we have, both using qualitative, locally sourced data and quantitative like data sources to try and paint a better picture of housing. We want to use that to improve existing. So even yesterday, on Monday, this morning, the task force is working with the county on updating HDHO. We're using data related to that. So I'm using more data to improve existing, create new, and then to be able to use this as a platform to kind of educate everyone, whether you're a resident or a business or you're a policymaker, to create a little more transparency about what housing looks like and what is actually being done about housing. So kind of this, what this looks like, these are actual screenshots from the dashboard as it is from the housing survey. First step is kind of collecting all this data and creating visuals for it. So even within this, you know, we're kind of looking at quality of rentership, seeing that quarter of people are moving more than twice per year, and you know, 30% of people have oral leases, and a third of people are on less than annual leases. And from there, kind of starting to be able to ask questions of like, how does this relate to the housing plan? For us, this relates to local housing options, having stable housing options for locals. And then we can then look at the action steps that are in the housing plan and say, okay, if we want to address local housing, the item in this housing plan is related to creating a good landlord program. So just trying to create a better, kind of more transparent system for housing. So with this proposal, we are requesting to expand this. The platform that we put together is based on that community housing survey. We're having a lot of conversations about requests for, and you know, I have like a monster spreadsheet of pages and pages of housing data going years back. We want to be able to assimilate that in this way that shows data related to all of the pillars in the housing plan and connect that to solutions that we want to work on, create more of a systematic approach to that. This dashboard was identified as a specific goal in the housing plan. So we've been working on that. And so, yeah, this request for funding will help us build that out and provide some initial funding towards maintaining that, making sure that as it's in its initial phases that it's operating the way it should. You know, new things always have bugs. Yeah, so that's our request. Hoping to build it out, be able to launch it at our community event in October. So yeah. And transition or
Thanks, Caitlin.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Would you guys be interested in partial funding, being considered for partial funding?
We would absolutely, I think, for the amount that we're requesting, because it's so small, we would, you know, advocate for full funding, but absolutely would accept partial.
Yeah, thanks. Questions? Do you guys see this as a tool? Like you mentioned, it's a tool to drive policy, right? But do you see this as a tool that businesses, developers, stuff like that are using as well? Or like what are the other uses besides just driving housing policy for something like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we already know that a lot of people use the housing plan itself, which is more of a stagnant document, to do grant writing, to be able to like kind of apply for funding, create narratives for market studies, that kind of thing. So the goal is to have that more updated on an ongoing basis so that, you know, then an employer can also say like, okay, this is actually like what the rental market looks like right now. Here, new employee, here's what I can communicate to you about, you know, kind of helping to support more data for businesses. It's definitely like an indirect, but definitely related to attracting and being able to do grant writing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would also say that we just did our first annual community housing survey last year. And what came out of it is us wanting to work more closely with a variety of different stakeholders. We have so much power and opportunity with this dashboard to show what the community wants and needs. So it would be really exciting to work with local businesses or, employers who have workforce housing or interested in it, of being able to obtain and disseminate data that is going to be most applicable for them too.
Any other questions? Thanks so much for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, and feel free to check it out on the Moab Housing website.
Yeah, moabhousing.com.
Yeah.
Social service providers use moabhousing.com with their clients a lot. There's a lot of information.
The brewery, you guys are next. Wants to. There it is. All right, just go ahead.
Thank you all so much for having us. My name is Scott Davis. I've been with the Moab Brewery for 11 years. I just recently took over as president of the brewery. So I'm sure you all know Autumn, who is our general manager. I'm based in the Salt Lake area and ran the sales department for the brewery for a long time, but I'm really excited to kind of take over the reins of the brewery. We are here today. Sorry, I'm gonna stop this audio. The brewery's been part of the community for almost 30 years at this point in time. It's our 29th year and we're very excited to hit 30. At that time, we employ anywhere from 80 to 100 people within the community on an annual basis and are constantly supporting numerous different events, projects, as well as youth teams. The project that we're looking for funding on is adding an extension of our brewery and restaurant onto the already established and successful Moab Food Truck Park. So Jeremy Aston, who's been operating that for the past 7 years, approached us because the number one comment that they received when they did surveys with their customers was the ability to purchase adult beverage while they're also enjoying their food. And what we love about this project is we're just adding to the user and customer experience when they're at the food truck park. We're not competing with the already established local entrepreneurs that are there. And we feel that by offering the ability to have beer on site, we'll also have people hanging out there for longer periods of time and also increasing the revenue for those already established food trucks. And you can see that Jeremy's done a great job with adding on to the food truck park every single year. The infrastructure gets better and better. And we feel that adding this beer garden would just really add a very unique experience to both the local community as well as the visitors to Moab to have an outdoor space that people can talk and have a good time and enjoy local food and support the local economy. Another highlight of it is all really capturing incremental funds from the travelers that do come here. We already have the people at the food truck park, and this is just giving them another option to spend more money within our community. I'm sure you saw on the one pager that I sent, but we do have a really aggressive timeline to get this done. We've already been working with the city and with the DABS. So we'll have local consent. We met with the city this afternoon, so we'll have local consent to then move on to the DABS portion of the licensing. We already had the DABS on site to give us feedback because we knew that that was going to be the largest hurdle of all of this. And they have been great with really outlining exactly what we need to do to make sure that it fits all of their needs. And with this, obviously, an immediate financial impact from tax revenue for the county, as well as an additional 4,500 hours of additional work for our employees that we have at the brewery.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Would you guys be interested in partial funding?
We would.
And then are you adding new hires to this to cover this? or-
We will, yeah. I mean, it's, everybody that works at the brewery is very excited if we get this open to be able to work
They want
there.
it.
Yeah, they all want that shit. But when we're taking people away and out of the brewery, I mean, we'll pretty much always take on new hires. Yeah,
And you won't be serving the food there, it's just gonna be the beer garden and then the food will be from all of the other entrepreneurs.
correct.
Bring food, this is just a really quick one. Can you bring food from the rest of the food park into your
Yeah.
zone? Okay.
Correct, yeah.
You can't bring the beer out.
You cannot bring the beer out. Yeah.
But I can bring a hot dog in.
You can't bring a hot dog in, yeah.
That has a lot of logistical questions then for me, because I imagine that that's gonna be hard to fit all the folks who would like to pair a tasty beverage with the food they already purchased from the food truck. You know what I mean?
Spot, do you see the size that we have that we've measured
You know
out?
what, I'm spatially challenged,
Yeah.
which is probably why I'm the person
Yeah.
asking, but I'm like,
It's
if you
large.
have a choice between where I can drink my adult beverage and eat my food and where I can eat my food.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have a lot of folks opting for where I can enjoy a tasty beverage with my food.
So
But their
just,
kids have to sit outside.
they do, yeah,
Yeah.
so it is.
Oh, is that right?
It's, yeah, it's 21 plus, yeah, and everybody will be ID'd at the door, that's a DABS requirement. Correct,
And
yeah,
and they've
so,
had so much practice at this, you know,
Yeah.
they do the folk festival, they do every event, I mean, the Moab Brewery does this all the time. That they have got it pretty perfected as far as allowing.
yeah, and to kind
allowing.
of give you like spatial awareness for that, so this is not even showing all of the space that we have
Okay.
available. So the entire space from the back to like the length of it could be 145 feet, so it is quite large. And our thought process is like not to open with it being that big. We're looking right now at about, I think it's 90 feet, in depth. And to extend that, we just extend the fencing, yeah,
What would the
So-
occupancy on that 90 feet be?
about 75, I believe. Yeah,
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I guess, sorry, forgive me, I'm passionate about economic development, sales tax revenue. Is there the ability to expand that for events, experiences, large groups? Do you see what I'm saying? So like, that's the size. But is there an opportunity to make it expandable? To be able to handle different types of events or larger times, or is that kind of the space they've allocated you and that's this?
it's the space that Jeremy has allocated us for. So if we needed larger space, those little buildings in the back, those are storage for each of the food vendors. So the one that's now currently right next to the fence is slated for us.
Okay.
We could move that, right, and then bring that space out. With doing that, I would have to work with the DABS, because that would change the parameters, which is okay. Like, we're used to working with the DABS. We're not looking to change anything other than this space, and as long as it fit with what we were already doing, but expanding it, they wouldn't have an issue with that.
Sure. No, I mean, that would just be a nice benefit to be able to have that flexibility and then just yank it right back to where it needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Thought about that, of even just like having that. Doing the space larger initially, and you could still have the fence
Close it up.
and close it off and then open it
So you
if we
don't
need
have to
to.
go back and re-ask.
Thank you.
One of the biggest things that I hear as a showstopper for the expos is activation space. We don't have an activation space right now in our downtown area. So like, say, for example, I wanted to have an outdoor recreation expo. They want to know where's our activation space, and I'm thinking that that could almost double as that space if you can expand and contract there.
Yep. Yes, it is. I will definitely ask for a bigger space with the DABS than what we're going to do, and this, it would be expandable. To what extent would be based off of what Jeremy allows with the food truck.
Very great.
So you know, we got 28,000 in materials here. So does that kind of get, like, we're building stuff and it's a rental? Is that like, I don't know if that's appropriate question, but is it like left with the property or how is this kind of?
So we rent the physical space, just like the dirt from the food truck park.
Yeah,
And then that building will be owned by the Moab Brewery. So like if,
all the tent poles, all that stuff.
yeah, and all of that, all of the infrastructure, like with how the code works, like, right, we're not allowed to even provide our own tables within that, like how the food truck park permitting works is the food truck park actually has to provide those. So Jeremy, right, like with the shading that you see in back will mimic what they've done, that they're just redid this year.
So some of that's actually, the food truck is building. some of it.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
is
and
that
it's,
where you put on the matching funds or like, how is that? Or are you saying like, oh, 10,000 of this is like the infrastructure that's being provided or?
no, the 10,000 was just like our matching funds to hit our budget.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
So
realistically.
there's more money going into this, just that, okay.
Correct, yeah, and I mean, right, like how I foresee this space is, once we get open and it is, cash flowing is continuing, just like as the food truck park has gotten better every single year of updating this space and making this space better for the community and for visitors every single year and reinvesting back into it.
I think Brittany was,
I just had a question about like, so are you guys planning on, I like the idea of it having a Moab brand to it.
Mhm.
And downtown, so economic impact, which we're trying to go after, obviously with these dollars. What do you anticipate your overall economic impact for maybe a year?
Like for gross revenue, for like what we would bring in, like based off of, we did our projections based off of roughly 25% of the draft volume that we do in the brewery for each given month. I personally think that is low, just based off of, they don't have any number data for the food truck park, which I understand that's difficult to get. But we would be looking at like on the low end, 180,000 of gross revenue just in beer volume.
okay. So a couple quick questions from
Yeah.
Randy.
Yeah, and then that's how you calculated the $20,000 additional state.
Correct,
and
yeah.
the Local tax.
Yeah.
It was based on that.
Yeah, the 9.5 sales restaurant tax as well as payroll tax, as well as all the incremental like hours that people in the brewery will be working, as well as the tax that we pay like per barrel for what we produce.
Cool. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, the timeline here is pretty aggressive. How optimistic are you that you'll be opening on June 16th? I want to put it on my calendar.
I felt
Is
really.
I like beer a conflict of interest? Or,
Really good after our meeting with the city today, because they just really didn't know how to license us. But I think we've got that figured out. So I think the next biggest hurdle is if it's not like right on that date, it's going to be within a month window of that
Okay,
date.
cool.
Like I would say like the middle of July would be worst case scenario after getting the green light from the city today. Because the DABS, there's already something similar to this up in Salt Lake City area.
Mhm.
So there's already precedent, so they don't really have the ability to not let us do it.
Okay.
For them on the state side.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Last quick question, Melissa.
I'm so sorry,
You're
two
good.
quick follow-up questions and then a concern. If I talk really fast, is that okay? Would you guys be open if there are opportunities for events, experiences, whatever, for private booking?
Absolutely.
Is that something that you guys are open to being able to use that as an asset or a selling resource as we're
Yes.
selling to groups?
Yes.
Yes.
What's the Salt Lake property for precedent, just so that we can take a look?
It is up in Park City and I can send you, it's at a hotel. Actually, that they utilize a outdoor space, like a big.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a big open field right next to their hotel and they have a permanent like beer truck that they use during the summertime that they fence off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will grab that from you often. The concern that I have, putting on my legal hat.
Yeah.
How concerned are we about contractual issues with the timing of the grant and the funds not being spent during the contract period? And are there workarounds, and is that an offline conversation?
I think it's a conversation for when we deliberate and
Okay.
make decisions, but yeah, it's something we can talk about as a group. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Golf club.
We can please try to fight. Totally.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Seth. Ready?
All good to go.
My name is Richard Codd, and I am the president of the Moab Country Club. I've been in that office for just about 4 months. And with me is Robbie Jones. All of you may know him. He's been a fixture at the golf course for a couple of years. He is the general manager and the golf professional. So we certainly welcome the opportunity to be here today. I know you went through, I think, 57 applications the first round, and then you whittled that down to 13 or 14, whatever it was. I was on the city's RAP tax that we just went through that process. And we only had like 22 applications, but I can only imagine what you've just been through. So thank you so much for doing it. I know it's an important role. I'm here today to talk about the golf course. We are at a crossroads. I don't know if you've played out there in a few years or if you played out there the last few weeks. The golf course has had a pretty rocky road for the last several years. As you know, the course was built around 1962. That's when it started and was added to over time. It started 9-hole, then 18-hole. It's old. The irrigation system is outdated. Equipment is aging. We don't have the capital resources. Our mission was to just operate the golf course. We never had the capacity for capital investments. We are sitting on an asset that is of tremendous value to the county and to the city and to the state. We last year had about 25,000 rounds of golf played at the facility. And almost half of those were visitors. They were people from outside of Moab who were coming to play at our golf course. We know we can grow that. There are so many opportunities at the golf course, but we need help, we need investments, we need a feasibility plan that will help carry us through the next 50 years. The course began in the 60s. We need to know now, how can we position this facility for the next 25 or more years? With all the development that is taking place, national parks around us, there are millions of visitors who come here. We have the opportunity to capture that at the golf course with housing. Look at the property development opportunities in that direction. You see ads near the golf course, the property's worth hundreds of thousands more. We know that this can contribute expensive resources, sales taxes, property taxes, downtown sales, beer sales that the people before me just were talking about. But we need help getting it. We're not the professionals. We run the golf course. We need a plan that tells us your irrigation system, we need a new irrigation system. We can't even buy parts for it. We have to jury rig things together. And what we see is the request was for 75,000 for from the county through this grant. And then we've approached the city and we've got the commitment from the city for approximately $25,000 to help pay for that plan. And we estimate that that's gonna cost about $100,000. An important part of that plan is looking at the economic feasibility and the economic benefit of the plan. As I said, we have about half of the golfers are from Moab. We want to grow that. And like most golf courses, we can charge a little bit more for visitors who come here. And that can help us generate additional revenue to put into the course. But we're not the experts. We want to know how much can we charge? What do we have to do? How much will this generate for the county and the city in sales tax and property tax? We know there's a lot out there to be gained. We envision things that we want to look at, like put in some RV pads. We have people now who want to come out and park and play, stay and play. We want to look at golf is booming right now, all across the country. And short courses have become very popular. They used to be called 9-hole executive courses. Well, now their 9-hole short course is very attractive to families, seniors. And that's something that we think we could incorporate out there at the golf course.
So we're past the 4 minutes, so if you can just wrap
Okay,
it up in the next.
so anyway, we need your help. We want to look at perhaps as a whole new model. We want the county to give us money down the road for capital infrastructure. We want the city to give us money. We want the state to give us money. And we will try to generate as much as we can through our grant fees. So with that, we certainly look forward to your support and we'll answer any questions that you have.
Thanks so much. First question, same as one for everyone, is partial funding something you guys would consider and be able to use?
Probably not. The plan has different elements, like what would it cost for an irrigation system? But that's also driven by how much we have to charge to help cover the cost of that. So it's really all integrated. So we don't have the money. The city could give us a little more, but no,
Understandable.
we'd have to go try a different tack.
So is the plan not only a capital improvements plan, but also a marketing plan? Is that the idea?
We're gonna be looking at marketing, as part of this. This is a start. So that we can get our hands around, how do we position, how do we grow this course? And make it it's a hidden gem. How can we let more people know that it's here through programs with the local hotels? Come golf for 3 nights, you get dinner here, you get this, you get that. We're willing to look at put packages together. It's a whole new ballgame out there, and we're hopeful that we can have a golf course here that everybody's really proud of and supported by locals.
So the golf course is owned by the city. Can you just help me understand just the basics of like the funding model? So like you guys, the city owns it, but you run it. When you charge greens fees, does it stay at the golf course? Like, are we just gonna be subsidizing the city if we fund you? Like, what, I just don't understand how that
The
works.
city owns the city owns the property that the golf course is on. The Moab Country Club, we lease that from the city and currently in our lease, we pay them a percentage of our profits.
Okay.
Which doesn't amount to much
Okay.
currently. There were a couple of years right after COVID that we did actually carve out a decent little profit, and the percentage was like 1.5%. But, but they did actually see a positive on their lease.
Yeah.
Probably the other unique thing that goes on is that the land that's a city is in the county. And the main water source is Ken's Lake water, in which we have 400 68 acre feet of water, which that's not the city's water, that's not the county's water, that's the Moab Country Clubs. So you do see this a perfect segue for some collaboration between the three organizations. And also, I think in this feasibility, it might be that this Moab Country Club isn't the right person to operate this. That it should be more of a county or county city or city and the county working together for the property, or bringing somebody else to run that might have deeper pockets that can do some fun. I mean, we really are just an operations group.
And so you're set up as like a,
We're a 501c6, so that's a country club fraternal order, which doesn't give you the ability to tap into wealthy donors.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I have a question a little bit. So economic impact for just a minute. So from what I'm understanding with this feasibility study, it's going to basically be the launch pad for you guys to find more money to rescue what's happening. Also, I know that you guys run several tournaments, and has the tournament numbers declined? Because the course hasn't been in its most fantastic shape.
Overall, yes.
And so then you've had to either decrease your dollars that you're charging, or you're just hoping that the same people that you love, that love to come here, come back, right?
Correct.
So if we do this feasibility study, that's gonna potentially make this economic impact giant in a way, because we're gonna see more people here. We have a lot of opportunity with, like, I saw the wedding thing, their event facility, pickleball courts, RV pads. So
And the city approached us about including pickleball courts.
is that an indoor facility, do you know?
I wouldn't think. so.
We would hope that the city wanted to do that. However, I do see this being a very good collaboration between the city and the county. But from an economic standpoint, that's a giant one for both of those. That's a win-win. I hope that they can figure that out. Great.
And like Rob said, we are also interested, if there's a way, a private operator, we just want to have a golf course that is enjoyable to play and brings people here and generates income.
And you guys charge less to locals
Yes.
at the moment?
And I think that's, probably as you get back into this, it's currently basically funded by tourists that play here. And that's been the case since it expanded to 18 holes in the late 80s. And that was what it was designed to do, is to be a driver for a tourism economy as things were going downhill in Moab. But it's also really cool that if you live in Moab, you have access to a golf course at an affordable price. It's not like we give it away to locals. There's still a fee component there, but they definitely, you get access to a cool product, unlike maybe say a hotel that if I lived in Moab, I don't really get to go check out the cool hotel that often.
Yeah.
How many nightly rentals have like that direct access out the door to that? Like, yeah, you guys know? Like all the Castillo de Roca, and Roca Verde, like the golf course is surrounded. Oh, yeah, at least.
Yeah,
Right.
so Coyote Run, I think there's 12 units over there. They're on the south end of the property. And then those 3 condo complexes. That's probably another.
They're like the selling point is to get access to the golf course. And then the new, like, there's a 52 unit development that was just passed. Is that like golf course kind of adjacent?
It's right up near there. It's up by the 14th.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of northeastern portion of the property.
Right. Which, and you think that'll be sold as like, hey, this is, the golf course is nearby as well.
So of course,
yeah.
And then, you guys said that there's a 9-hole short course. So is that in addition to what's there?
Yeah, what we're thinking is, again, if you follow the trends in golf, one of them is these short hole, short courses. with 3 hole loops. So if you want to come and play 3 holes, play 3 holes, and they'd be shorter, 70 yards, 60. 100
And
yards.
it's integrating that into kind of like the driving, where the current driving range is.
Mhm.
And then and you do that not by just going and throwing it into another space, but you integrate the short course into the driving range itself. And then that way you have the driving range operate in the morning, you know, as people are getting ready to play. And then as the afternoon approaches, then it transitions into the short course to where, you know, that's, you know, instead of going to the pool at your hotel, you come out and whip around and play the short course.
I think we've got time. Do you have one last question?
Yeah, so. Let's assume for a second, you get the grant, you hire a consultant to create the plan, okay? A year from now, they have this wonderful plan that can like be very, very costly, right, to build out. Do you have thoughts on where that funding could come for a par 3, I call it par 3 courses, but par 3 course, RV, pickleball courts? And then you still have the upgrades that you want to do on the existing course, right? Like the sprinkler system and such. Or thoughts on where that money would come from?
Well, that's what we hope to gain and learn as well with our study. We know that the city, they're not here. We have talked with the city about establishing perhaps a line of credit for capital improvement. We can't afford it now. We said that's a great idea, but yeah, give us, you know, some money, but we can't pay it back. But we will aggressively pursue other county, like the RAP tax money that comes in. The RAP tax is for tourism. It's generated through tourism. Everything's 10 to the penny or whatever. That generates hundreds of thousands of dollars, and perhaps one year, a few $100,000 from that goes to the golf course. We recognize we can't do all of this at once. Maybe what we do with a master plan for the courses, we say, number 1 is irrigation, get that done. Then we say, we're gonna work on holes 1 to 5. And we're gonna work on those over the next year and a half. I mean, we can't fund this. This is probably 5, 6, 7 million right up front. The irrigation is probably at least a few million. And then it just goes up. But we have to start. We have to do it somewhere, and the sooner we do it, the better it will be. We can't let the course keep going. Otherwise, we'll never be able to bring it back.
And I think you can also look at that as you get into the feasibility study, then it could be the other side. It's just, well, maybe those goals might be too much, but you know, it's probably a good idea if the city and the county want to keep a golf course for the community, make it more livable to be here, make it to where somebody wants to stay an extra day because there is something that isn't pie in the sky, but it's like, okay, maybe middle is actually good. That might be where you need to be. And I think that's what we need to see with the study is. So you kind of know what the next step is.
Do you guys already collaborate with like hotels and different stuff on packages?
Yeah, we have. In the past, you know, some of it gets difficult doing too much of that because it's like.
It's rough.
Because their discount is at a much higher profit level than what we are. So it's like, it gets a little bit hard to negotiate those things to be honest with you. Okay. But, yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Hey, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Next up is Moab Farm. Yeah, awesome.
Awesome. Which one is this one? Oh, right here. I have it up already.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have my thing, I'm just gonna put it on the screen really quick.
Sounds good.
Hello, everyone. My name's Sawyer, and my family, we run Moab Homegrown Farm. And so I don't know if all of you have read, but our idea is an incubator kitchen for Moab. And so it's a little bit different than a commercial kitchen. And so this first set of pictures, I went to City Market and Village Market yesterday, and I just kind of looked at the shelves and I saw what they had for sale. And these are like super common products that people would like make at home. Like you all probably know people that make bread or people that make jams or just kind of homemade things like that. And all the options at the grocery store, they're all imported from other places, like different states. And I didn't go into each one and look in depth, but they're all kind of just from elsewhere out of Moab. And so there's also Moonflower. Moonflower sells a lot more products that are kind of more local and regional, but still a lot of them are from outside Moab. People like in Salt Lake or Colorado make them and they import them here. So that's where kind of all those products come from. And you've probably all seen the shelves like during tourist season, when you go into like City Market and it's just all wiped out, it's all completely empty and there's nothing there. You guys get all the slim pickings and just whatever's left over. And so kind of what this project is to kind of help get past that and to help kind of increase the food security for Moab. And so I really like this quote. It's by Steve Jobs, and he says, "A lot of times people don't know what they want until you show it to them." And so that's kind of what this is. So if we have more locally made food products that are on these shelves in stores, then people are going to want to buy them. It's going to be more competitive and people are going to, and it's a better option than just going and buying anything that's imported because there's that local option as well. And so that's just part of it, but what this incubator kitchen would do, but there's also a bunch of different things. So let me go to my next slide. So I'm sure all of you probably use Facebook or Facebook Marketplace. And so this is just a couple of screenshots that I gathered over the last couple of weeks of local food entrepreneurs that are trying to sell their homemade foods. There's a lady that does sourdough bread. There's a lady that does Greek food. There's different like tacos and fry bread and stuff like that. And then there's like Mexican snacks, and then there's different pickled things. And this is just like a small sample of what's available, but there's a huge need and people are trying to sell these things. But one of the problems with doing this is it's really good, but a lot of times you have no idea where the food comes from. Like if someone makes it in their home kitchen, there could be like peanut allergies, or there could be like dogs and cats, just kind of, you have no idea what's there. So it's you're kind of not sure what you're buying, but I mean, it's definitely something that people are buying, and you can see the comments that people are ordering, they say, oh, I'd love to do this. And so there's definitely that need for it, but there's not adequate space. And so my next thing, and also with like things like this, you can sell them, it's totally legal. There's different cottage food laws, but if there's like a commercial kitchen, then they could be expanded and then they could be sold at the stores and to more customers. So that's what this is trying to fix, is making like a space that these people can make their things and sell them, and it's all done right. And so that goes into my next slide. And so Youth Garden Project, they have a commercial kitchen that's available to rent. And if you go on their website right now, it says that they're currently capacity for individual kitchen renters. So there's not really room for any more. So there's obviously a big demand and a big need for this space. And there's also space that you can rent at the Grand Center. And I just found this the other day when I was looking again. I did this where I kind of looked online a couple of weeks ago and I didn't find this. So this just kind of popped up. I don't know if I was just bad at Googling, but this is available as well. But so what's kind of different than like renting from the Grand Rental Center versus ours is this will be like an incubator kitchen, where it's not just a kitchen, you go into it, you make your food and you're done, but it's kind of like a home for entrepreneurs. Like if they need assistance with like, oh, what can I do with like food and regulations and laws? It'll be a space for that. And we'll also have like different sticker machines where you can print off like stickers, you put labels on your packages, and then it'll also be like a good networking place because where this will be set up, it'll be next to our farm, so you could buy local produce from us, and it's also super close to Easy Bee Farm. So if you need like different items, then you could go just down the road, you could just walk there and grab those local items that you need as well. And it's just a super good way to kind of be more involved and have everything there, where if you need resources in that, this place will provide that. And so it's not just like some kitchen in the middle of nowhere, but it's a kitchen where if you need help, you can go, and it'll always be open. And so also what's different about this is Youth Garden Project, they have that kitchen that's available to rent, but it's only kind of like after hours, like when they're not using it for their own business. And same with like their Grand Rental Center. I've never actually been there to use their kitchen or anything, but I'd assume that it's also the same thing where Grand Rental Center has that and they use it when they need it. And then when it's not in their business use, then it's able to be rented out. But what's different about this is it'll be primarily used just for renting to kitchen entrepreneurs, open to them all the time. And it won't be used as like something for our business that we use all the time, but it'll be the opposite. So when we need it, we can rent it or something, but primarily it'll be used for people that need it and they'll have access to it regularly and consistently. And so then that's that. And then this is an idea of kind of what we're looking for that would be within the price range that we estimate, where it'll be like a small shipping container that'll have all the kitchen facilities in there. And the benefit of this is they're super quick to build, they're super durable, and say there's a problem with like zoning or issues or something happens in the future, then this unit would be really easily moved somewhere else that somewhere could be a better home for it. So that's also the benefit of this, and would also have different like processing things in here. Like we'd have like a freeze dryer and like a pressure canner and a sticker labeling machine and printer and things like that. So it's not just a kitchen, but it'd be a little more things to help kind of grow their business. And yeah, that's my presentation, I guess.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Question I've been asking everyone is whether you want to be considered for partial funding. So if we weren't able to fund the entire request, would you be able to move forward with the project with a partial funding potentially?
No, because if we want to do this, we kind of want to do it right and make sure that we have everything that is needed. So no, good, thanks.
What's the capacity with this model? How many food entrepreneurs do you think this can like serve?
Yeah, so at a time, it's like this one is specifically like a 20-foot model, so it would be able to fit one renter at a time. So like one business would do all their baking at one time, so that's it, but it could be rented all throughout the day. So multiple people a day, but only one at a time.
Okay, does your current zoning support this type of structure?
I haven't looked into it, but EZB Farm has a commercial kitchen down the road and everything, so it's pretty similar, and I'd imagine it all.
Where is this? I'm trying to.
Yeah, Spanish Valley, so it's out of city limits, it's on Easy Street.
Okay. Thank you.
Have you done like revenue projections, ongoing expenses after, I mean, not the build out, right?
Yeah.
The creation of this, but in terms of sort of the business model, and what does that look like? I mean, I'm not asking for all the numbers specifically, but like, yeah, kind of, is it sustainable?
Yeah, definitely. So we'd also in the future kind of want to add like solar options, because in the summer the heat here is obviously, and the sun is amazing for that. So that'd be another thing. So it could be partially run off of like batteries and things like that. As far as like the actual business numbers, we wouldn't charge like $100 an hour for someone to come in, but it'd still be low enough that people would want to go rent it, like, oh, that's easily rentable, but also enough to kind of cover the costs. And it wouldn't be crazy high costs. It would just be like around $25 to $35 to rent an hour, and then just however much that kind of comes out to electricity and water and whatnot. So I don't have like in-depth numbers or anything, but it is profitable.
What is your background?
So my background is I studied GIS in college and I graduated in that, so I kind of like understand everything about like geography and relationships and whatnot. And then I also do like video production and things like that on the side, just kind of like an outlet. Like I have an art show at Moonflower right now. So I just kind of do a whole range of things, but my family just we got into our farm and we're doing that. And then this year we need a lot more help because we're doing a lot more. So that's what I've been doing, is just farm stuff lately.
Cool, thank you.
So you own the property that you want to put this on already?
No, I don't own it, but my parents do, and they're totally okay with this.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
As long as it's zoned for something like this, right?
It sounds like it, yeah.
Any other questions? Thanks a lot, Sawyer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just 3 left. We're getting there. Thank you all for hanging in there. Those who have been especially here for a little while. And for all of us hanging in there too. Moab Regional Hospital, John, go next.
Everyone, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Not gonna try and improv this because you're kind of short on time and I want to make sure I just get through quickly and,
That's great.
so. My name is Jen Seda. I'm the CEO at Moab Regional Hospital. So much for your time and consideration of our request to fund the feasibility and planning study for our essential workforce housing development. So according to the 2023 Moab Area Housing Plan, out of 90 surveyed Grand County employers, 76% reported having lost employees due to the housing shortage. 88% have experienced some or considerable difficulty fully staffing their companies and growing their business due to the lack of affordable workforce housing. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody here. According to the 2021 data, a household must make an annual income of $147,000 in order to be able to purchase a home in Grand County. With the increase in higher interest rates since 2021, I imagine that number has gone up. By 2030, it's estimated that 949 new housing units will be needed in the community, and by 2050, that rises to 3,700. So currently, the hospital has 20 open positions. These are all mostly well-paying positions for trained people. We have a lot of challenges, both attracting people to move here because nursing salaries stay pretty consistent and, lab techs, radiology techs, but our cost of living here is so high. It's just sort of like, as people are looking around at their options, it's not, unless you really love the Red Rocks and what we have to offer, it's not attractive to move here. Affordable housing for our employees is really a critical barrier to our ability to grow. And to fulfill our mission and to grow new services. It's also just vital to economic development because it ensures that we have the workforce for other new businesses to establish and for existing businesses to grow. If we can't house our people, we really can't do a whole lot of economic development in any big significant way. In 2021, we purchased a piece of property, 22 acres from Grand County. It's located just over the county line in Spanish Valley in San Juan County. With the goal of addressing this problem, not just for our employees, because we can, the property that we purchased will hold approximately 150 to 160 units, but also for other essential organizations in the community. Our schools are experiencing lots of turnover because teachers can't put down roots here. EMS is experiencing lots of turnover because it's hard for people to put down roots here. So we really want to partner with those other organizations to make sure their workforce is also stable. I went off script, you guys. So the next step for us is to do the planning and feasibility, infrastructure planning, phasing, to create a legal plan around HOA development guidelines, to decide if we actually initiate the development or if we partner with other developers to initiate it. And our ultimate goal is to have a right of first refusal and caps on escalation so that this housing can stay in affordable ranges in perpetuity. The other, and we've had the opportunity to learn from some of the other housing groups in town of, what works, what doesn't work. And so we want to roll that all in. The challenge we have is a lot of our employees don't qualify for some of the lower income things that are on the, that are happening out there. So this is kind of like a donut hole solution, if you will, for, we have most of our providers, they make enough money to purchase a house in Grand County, but it's that sort of middle income where it's too much to qualify for programs and not enough to buy a house. So the planning would include master plan, infrastructure planning, the governance, legal framework, market analysis. Having done this similar type
of work when we did the expansion project on the hospital. It usually takes about 6 months to do a really good job. To sort of preemptively answer one of your questions, if this wasn't fully funded, you know, the hospital had budgeted money this year to move this process forward. It's nice to do it all at once, because if you only have parts, by the time you can then afford to do the next part, are those numbers still relevant? Is that still the thing? So we could still do pieces. We'd probably tackle some of the legal and infrastructure planning and then, you know, hold until we could budget more. But we would consider partial funding. I just want to touch on why we're focusing on housing. I mean, first, I think it's essential for us to be able to operate our business, which I think is arguably really important to the community. But second, we have the resources internally to sort of ignite a project like this. We have a CFO and a controller, we have finance background, we have legal counsel, we have a lot of people internally who can help drive the process, not to mention just the ability to kind of bridge some of those community connections. And we recently completed our $30 million expansion project with funding through USDA, which is not an easy loan to navigate and get. So I feel really confident that we have the team in place who can manage, you know, driving this forward. We made a pretty significant investment in it. We spent 1.9 million on this piece of property. We got it for a great price, which will allow us to hopefully keep this development in an affordable range for folks, but we need some help crunching the numbers because we're running a hospital, not
Housing.
not housing developers. So that entertain any questions you have.
I have one, since she's already answered
Yeah, go
first.
ahead, yeah.
So I guess I didn't realize this land was in San Juan County. Have you approached San Juan County about funding any of the feasibility of this, or approached them at all about the project and your plans?
We have not. We certainly could if they have this funding. You know, the reality is the vast majority of the people living in this housing development are going to be working in Grand County. You know, Moab Regional Hospital is located in Grand County School District's located in Grand County. So, you know, while they may have some incentive, I don't think they have as much incentive as Grand County.
Do you guys pay property tax?
We do.
That would be
They have
their incentive there. I just want to make sure that, I know that like sometimes people don't pay property tax on like certain entities or whatever, so that's why.
Right, yeah, it depends. If you're delivering services on that property, like we don't pay property tax on the hospital property, but that's a different kind of property. And so it falls outside of that. You can apply for relief, but it's, you know.
Yeah, your development of that property would be in their interest.
It is, yeah, and I think that they have interest as well, but I think for Grand County right now, you know, our agreement with Grand County when we purchased this property was for Grand County workforce. This property is deed restricted for Grand County workforce.
And so you talk a little bit about community partners. So are you envisioning this being just available for hospital employees, or this would be available for a broader?
For our employees and organizations that support, you know, the work of our mission, so school district, EMS, law enforcement, fire, you know, I can honestly, in my mind, tie a lot of different businesses and organizations into supporting our mission.
Yeah.
And when, oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's just maybe quick.
Plus,
I don't
I
know.
mean, you've seen General Hospital. I don't want people living and working together. City.
For that usage.
Yeah.
How many units are expected? Do you have any idea yet?
It's somewhere between 150 to 160. It all depends on how the property gets laid out. You can increase the density based on doing different things with the green space and open space.
Thanks.
And then as part of that, they have to work in Grand County. They cannot work in San Juan County.
They might be able to work in San Juan County, but they have to work in this valley.
Okay.
Yeah,
And would these all be apartments?
no, they wouldn't be apartments. Actually, what we have people leaving for is, nurses are practical. Somebody spends a couple of years in their 20s working at Moab Regional Hospital. They love it here. They want to put down roots. They want to start a family. They want a house. They want something.
But they wouldn't buy it or they
No,
would
they
buy it?
wouldn't buy it.
They would buy it. Okay.
But it's deed restricted, so
Yeah.
they couldn't just flip it.
That's
Right.
where your first right of refusal is for you guys.
So then to sell it, we would be the the entity buying it back and then brokering it back into our.
Interesting.
So your costs after this then would be to put in the utilities, the roads, the lights, all that stuff, and then sell lots to people?
Maybe, or maybe potentially launch a development, but that's part of what this feasibility assessment is what are our options?
Right, yeah. Well,
Thank you so much for your time.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Housing, healthcare?
Housing is healthcare, and actually, in my opinion, even beyond just. If I had $1 billion, if anybody's listening out there. I think we'll see hospitals start to work on housing. For people beyond their employees for the exact same reasons I mentioned. We have the expertise, we have the resources, and until you address that basic need, like. You can't get to the top of the pyramid if people don't have housing. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
for your time.
Thank Multi-minute, Courtney, you're up.
All right, I pass out a couple of brochures.
Sure.
It's a hot seat. All right, my name is Courtney Atwood. I'm born and raised in Moab. And I run Eco HVAC here in town. Been doing heating and cooling for over 20 years. And I have, and doing heating and cooling and for that long. You kind of learn of the tricks of the trade and you kind of like find things that can make life simpler. So I actually patented and invented a product. And that's what you're looking at right there on your pamphlet. It's a mini split stand. So it's an outdoor unit stand that does all three. You can buy each one of these stands individually on the internet or through suppliers, but I've made it where it's all in one bracket. So we are actually putting this together in town, and what we're trying to do is get a shop and mass produce it at a moment. We can immediately hire like 6 people right off the bat. We just got it, in my business, we just got a huge deal. So we're working pretty fast, and we have some property in mind, and I'm not very good at this, so just ask me a question. I like to go work, but I'm not a very good talker, so.
So you're saying you could hire 6 people right now, like meaning where you have orders for this product that would sustain 6 people working for, I don't know how long, but for a
Just
while.
right now, it might even be more, because right now we're on Amazon. We just got on Amazon about, I'd say about a month ago. And so we're on Amazon, and I'm pushing every distributor that I use for my equipment. So now I'm selling through distributors which probably will not like Mountain Land, Mountain Land is a huge distributor. There's one in Monticello, and there's probably like 15 in the state of Utah. Johnstone is huge in Colorado and Utah as well, but I'm hitting all these distributors and we're just pushing these things out. It's not a hard thing to do. It's just we need a shop to be able to make this happen. Right now, we are dealing with China. China is sending them to us. But I would like to be able to do that all here. Which I think everybody would like to do, mass producing, but,
If you had a shop, you could afford to do it here?
yes. So, we have a property in mind and, it's half residential, half commercial. And we're thinking of kind of like involving some tiny homes or some kind of like opportunity to have employee housing on the property for whoever works for us. And that's basically it. That's my speech.
Thank you. One question I was been asking everyone is whether you'd want to be considered for partial funding, which would mean would the project go forward even if it was just partially funded?
I mean, I think everybody would like to be partially funded. With this project, it kind of involves a little bit more, but we're gonna be here and we're gonna stay. So
Just
we're
gonna
gonna
figure out
push,
how to do that.
we're just gonna figure out how to do that. The full funding would actually get it up faster. I'm not going anywhere, so, and it would bring jobs quicker, so, the full funding would make it just pick everything up faster, basically, so, thank you. Yep.
So the property that you're looking at, if that doesn't go through, do you have another option for your building?
I mean, there's other properties that we're looking at. This one's just kind of like the best one. Because we did see the half commercial, half the residential. And I would like to see, there's a lot of people that, that can't be in, that would like to come here and work and they can't afford to live, so. And you probably heard that all night, so. We've thought of plenty of ideas. We've thought about maybe even, if we have to do a little campsite, but I don't want to be kind of like that. I want to make it nicer. I'm more of like tiny homes would probably be the last thing to do, or maybe a couple duplexes. But basically that would be mainly for employee housing. So.
How does sales tax work here? So you're doing a wholesale and a retail? So
Yes.
you're sending it, so you're wholesaling it
Yep.
to those distributors and then you're retailing it.
Yep.
But then tell me about like sales tax on, I don't understand internet sales or sales in general like this.
And
You guys-
honestly,
It's out of
that's
state.
not my department.
Okay, okay,
I can. tell
But
you
I
about that.
do know that we pay our taxes. Okay?
yeah.
But
How much
there
do
is a
you pay?
difference.
I guess what you're getting at, are you generating income currently for the county, internet sales?
Yep.
Okay.
So congratulations on creating a pretty
Yeah.
cool product.
Thank you.
So, the mount itself, the pictures you have here, I looked up your website earlier and, they all seem to be, this Bryant unit, HVAC unit.
Right.
Is it compatible with other types of units then too?
Yes, so the reason why it's Carrier and Bryant is because that's who I'm a dealer for as Eco HVAC.
Got it.
So I
Okay.
can't get much pictures of
Okay,
the
sure.
way.
Yeah.
But yes, we've done the research on every other model. We are compatible with everybody.
Oh, great.
So it's not just Bryant or Carrier.
Okay.
It's every single mount.
So if I'm a HVAC person, I can carry this one product versus several different ones? Is
Yep.
that what the whole,
That's the
Like a-
whole point of the whole thing is you can have this one product and you don't have to store 3 different products in your shop. You have this one product and it does every single thing. And it saves you a lot of money and it's very, it's really fast. As coming from a person that does HVAC, I'd much rather have that where I just lift up, put bolt through, and I can adjust all the pitches on the roof. So anyways, it does a ground mount, wall mount, and the roof pitch, everything from 212 all the way to 1212. And all these other brackets can do that, but it's a separate purchase of all of them. So you have 3 different products stored in your.
So if I'm
shop.
doing my own project, I could just get this universal thing and not.
You
worry
can get
about
it, that's
whether or
the
not I got
point,
the
yeah.
right bracket.
It's the universal bracket, but you can go online and say, I'm mounting it to the roof. But you'll find that, but it's not, doesn't do it all. So
Right. But if I go on Amazon, I can find this.
you can go on Amazon and find that.
So, oh, sorry. No, that's fine. One of my concerns is, we talk about residential, commercial.
Mhm.
This starts to get into industrial zoning. And what's that?
Manufacturing.
Yeah, and we've had problems
Do we
with
have
this.
that zoning here? Do we?
Yeah. And I'm just wondering how vetted you've gone into the planning and zoning of it and been like, that's why I'm worried. I'm like, great idea, and I love this. I just wouldn't want to be like, hey, I bought this property, and then it's like, code complaints, and now I don't want to go too far down, but I see zoning and stuff coming up in some of these business.
Well, it'll be part of the question. It's like,
Yeah.
Is it city or county?
It is.
It's county, it's actually located, I had it somewhere, but it's. Well, I don't have the exact.
Yeah,
address,
yeah,
but
no.
It's. Top the hill.
Yeah, yeah,
So off to the left.
okay. I just like, as we're getting more serious stuff down, I'm like, oh, I'm really interested in your thing, and I'm like,
Right.
how far have you vetted some of the?
So you're sort of suggesting
Have you
that
talked to the
he
county
should
planning department?
call up planning and zoning.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
had
And have
communications, but we
conversations,
haven't had intent.
About this
About-
specific property or?
I just kind of figured commercial's commercial, so I'm not, I got learning to do, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna be, million people. I don't think we're gonna be 500 people, but I do want to be, I think in the future where if it's going right, I think I might have 30 employees and there might be a couple
What
of
do you-
trucks coming in and out, and that's about it.
What do you think your projected sales for a full year would be? If you were at capacity with the 6 people?
So right now we sell each unit for, so 2 suppliers, it's for $250 for wholesale. Individuals is $300. I just sent a pallet out of for 30 yesterday, and we've been doing about a pallet about a week. So a pallet a week at, we'll call 250. We're about 7,500 a week. That was growing.
Any other questions?
And that's with not the employees that you have.
That is not what the employees. we
That's
have,
just
and that's not,
you trying your best right now with
That's-
yourself. Okay,
that's me going to sleep at 12 and waking
Uh-huh.
back up at 6, so.
Well, but you're using manufacturing in China right now for that.
Right now
that
we are,
demand. Yeah,
and-
so it's not just him working on it
Yeah.
himself, right?
Yeah.
Well, what they're doing is they're building it, we're putting it together.
Cool, yeah.
We also are dealing with St. George as well, because we got to a point where we were going through China, and as we all know, tariffs and stuff happened, so we went through St. George. St. George got our equipment quicker. So we're still trying to figure out if we're getting our second order from China. It might be on a boat somewhere spinning around. I don't know. But it is coming, and that's kind of what we're bouncing around between the two. And my personal opinion, I would love it coming straight out of St. George, but we'll see how that works through.
Or Moab.
Or more.
Or me, yeah, or me.
Yeah.
But, so that's kind of where we're at right now.
Courtney, thanks so much for your time.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Yeah, great presentation.
You weren't so bad.
shirt. Thank you.
You guys have been with us all afternoon in Castle Valley.
Yeah.
Ready to go whenever you're ready to go.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I didn't bring enough copies for everybody. I didn't know how many people would be here, but I do have 3 copies of the presentation. I'm gonna throw it up on the screen if I can.
Perfect.
And then I also have 3 copies. These are really just giving information on freeze drying and on purple potatoes. And then I have some copies of our application, if that would be an use case.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Yes.
Well, you saved the best for last.
That's right. Yeah.
Always works that way.
That means we have got some sampling.
So I'm Dave Fry with Castle Valley Gourmet Mushrooms, Adventure Vet, and Feathers Charity Ride. I'm here as a Castle Valley resident, entrepreneur, and very small business to talk about.
Yeah, so Dave, partnership, and Dave is the one that's the impetus behind this really. We've met around food. And my name's Tommy Meyer, by the way. I'm at Castle Valley Farms there as the farm manager right now. And I've been there 10 years, and since the beginning, one thing that I've always struggled with is food waste. I hate food waste. I hated working in restaurants. I was in college because of how much food we threw away, you know. I was like going home with all this food, you know. Anyway, so I got a freeze dryer from a former student's mother, donated $5,000 to the project, and we bought our first freeze dryer. And so Dave and I have been experimenting and playing around and getting mushrooms, and he wants to grow mushrooms, which is perfect because I wanted to grow mushrooms too, but we're already so busy doing all these other things we're growing, you know, tomatoes, and did 1,300 strawberry plants, and halfway through planting 500 raspberry plants right now. So we're gonna have a lot of bounty, you know, and preserving it is a good thing. I mean, there's 5 to 6 purple potatoes in this jar, you know, and it's really dense powder. And there's more anthocyanins in the purple potato than there are in blueberries. And the potatoes we're growing out there, the soil type is so good. I mean, you can't kill these things. The purple potato grows really well. And so we've always constantly been thinking of ways of preserving food. And Dave has made us think even more about putting in a space where we could collaborate with people in the community, and they could come and use this space in our commercial kitchen, and even parts of our commercial kitchen in the summertime when there's no students there. There's potential to cook and make soups or whatever, freeze dry those, camping food, ready-made food. Marshall already said he would sell, he put up a whole rack for us, you know, at Gear Trader, and we're selling things online. And you quadruple value the food just by freeze drying it, so it's definitely worth doing. And so anyhow.
Yeah, so I'm Fred Facemeyer. I'm also with Castle Valley Farm, Castle Valley Academy. We are a nonprofit, and we have 28 students there, and everything that we do on the farm really supports the school. That's what that's our focus really there, is supporting the school and then the community around us. We have community members that are there helping with baking bread. You know, we're taking that a lot of places. This, the purple potato we have here, we have about 10,000 pounds of that currently in storage, trying to sell right now. And it's, you know, large produce potatoes, and it's challenging to do that. One of the things that freeze drying does, of course, is that it changes the shelf life from a few months to 25 years. And this, because of the health properties of this, it's something that if you look online, if you were to go on Amazon and look, you'd see that something like this is going to sell for somewhere between $6 and $10 a pound for this. And it's tremendous health benefits, and it's also gluten-free.
There's not a lot of options for gluten-free flour and things like there, but this, you know, potato is gluten-free. So that gives you a great opportunity there, but we're also looking at the food security market. Because one of the things that you see is that, you know, when you remember when COVID hit, if you went to the grocery store, shelves are empty. And you hear ads all the time about buying, you know, freeze-dried and dehydrated things to keep in storage in case you have an emergency or something like that. Well, this provides that. It also is a great way to supply outdoor enthusiasts that are looking for something that's lightweight. They can take out into the, you know, into the mountains or whatever and just reconstitute that with some water. So this provides that. Each of the freeze dryers that we're proposing 4. Each of them can do up to 50 pounds. And that's per run, and it takes between 24 and 36 hours to basically freeze dry down 50 pounds of wet material, whatever it might be, mushrooms, potatoes, strawberries, melons, you can do all kinds of things, peaches, whatever. It takes about a day or so to get that down. And so what we're proposing is to have 4 freeze dryers, gives us enough capacity to be able to support the farm and what needs to be done there and what the community would want to do, so they can come in and do that. That also is an opportunity for us to be teaching people, because we bring people there, we can teach them how to preserve food, and they can grow their own gardens and do things like that. You asked a question about whether or not our proposal is scalable, whether a partial funding would work. If you look at it, and I actually have a breakdown on the slides, which wasn't able to get them up on here because of the connection. But on there, it breaks down number of quantities. So one of the main things that we want to deal with is once you start a freeze drying process, you don't want to have the power go off in the middle.
Yeah.
And so we were proposing as part of our proposal to put in a solar generator that would allow us to run these. And of course, they're running constant. It's not like they're on and off and on and off. They're just drawing power all the time. So you need a decent sized solar generator to do that. That's a significant part of the proposal there. But you can also scale up just the number of freeze dryers. Right now, we have one that does about half what one of these could do. So, you know, a partial funding would work for this. It would just reduce the capacity. It would mean that, you know, you wouldn't be able to necessarily send out as much, but it would still provide a capability there in the community. So, yeah, there are a number of different things that I think this would benefit locally. A lot of the freeze-dried products and things are, of course, coming in from outside the area. This is another way to keep things local and benefit the community in a lot of ways and encourage people to think about growing their own food, because now they would have a way to be able to preserve it. There are some places where you can get commercial freeze drying done. If you want somebody else to do it right now, you can go to Springville. If you've got 6,000 pounds that you want to freeze dry, pay them $2 a pound and they'll freeze dry it for you. But I don't know how many people have the manpower to process 6,000 pounds. We don't. And store 6,000 pounds and freeze it while you're getting ready to take it up there and make a $12,000 investment to get it done in the first place. So this allows us to have something that is larger than just what you could do in your home, but it's still a much more manageable kind of size for what we would want to do in products like this and what the community would want to do as well.
Okay, I know it's been a long day and we're the last ones, so I'll talk fast and get right to the point. As I said, I live in Castle Valley, I'm a resident. I see this as like a seed for entrepreneurs to take this, like what we're doing with Castle Valley Gourmet Mushrooms, and let the Castle Valley community use their skills, their cooking, their small products that they're working with out in Castle Valley, use that as the dehydrator, freeze dryer, commercial kitchen seed that's already established over at Castle Valley Farms. So there's not a whole lot that would have to go in except for the appliances that Fred and Tommy has talked about, and the electrical to get that up to what it needs to do. But we have already immediately started using what they have there with the older equipment. this newer equipment, I'd like to see 10, 15, or 20 of me in Castle Valley doing either mushrooms or other foods besides what we're doing. There's honey out there, there's goats, there's goat milk, there's all kinds of smaller farms that are growing a lot of produce. And we want to bring in and teach those people or give them the skills to turn it into a small business so they could bring it to the farmer's market. We're going to be at the farmer's market this Friday, the first Art AG. And we've got 100 pounds of mushrooms coming in tomorrow. So we will have all these fresh mushrooms that we'll be taking to the farmer's market as we get our farm up and growing. So I really see it as the seed that you guys could plant in Castle Valley that could get Castle Valley more sustainable, more activity. It's a perfect location because it's not in the town of Castle Valley. It's right outside the farm. So there's not going to be traffic going into Castle Valley. It's all they'd be coming to the farm to do all this work and get their projects off the ground. We bring in chefs, we bring in cooks that could help them explore their entrepreneurial culinary skills. And there's a lot of that out in Castle Valley. Jasmine knows that for sure. All the people cooking out there and growing, and it's besides just the farms, hundreds and hundreds of pounds going out there. And we can put people to work. So that would be a very big driving force, would be to get these people interested. There's already been an expressed interest that they could come together to a community kitchen, freeze drying preparation facility. They would use. And then they would make money, and then we would put people to work. So that's.
Yeah, it was very similar story, that kid, what was his name?
Sawyer.
Oh, and the portable community
like-
kitchen.
Yeah, the idea is out there, right? So that's cool. that he's
The need
wanting to
is
do
out
that.
Yeah, but the cool thing about this is it's not just one at a time.
No.
With the 250 to 300 square feet, just the one room where the freeze dryers and the dehydrator and the prep is gonna go, 3 or 4 or 5 people could go in there and work, prep their stuff, and then put it in the freeze dryer or dehydrator, and you wouldn't have to wait for somebody.
Or the freezer, if those are loaded, yeah.
Right, and they already have a lot of the infrastructure in place. These guys have been out there for a long time, so they have experience, they have the skill sets, and they cook delicious food that I've eaten many of.
I got a couple of questions for you
Yeah,
guys.
go ahead.
So what percentage of what you're producing now is staying in Grand County? And also, when you talk about hiring or creating jobs, do you guys actually hire outside of your organization?
We haven't really. This would be more of I was thinking more of like a piecemeal type thing. They could come in and they could produce things, that they could then sell in our farm store or something. Have similar, like a really low rental, so it's not hundreds of dollars per hour, but have the ability to print labels and just make things that they could then, just put right in our store or bring to town, try to sell elsewhere or on their own website. Or just put it up for themselves, kind of a thing. If they just want to use it,
And where's your current production going? From your farm?
So most of it comes to Moab. We don't really take it. Used to go to Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I remember
but,
that. So I just wondered.
we don't take anything to Salt Lake City now.
So it is staying in Grand County?
Yeah.
What does that distribution look like? So we know that you sell into Moonflower. Are there
Yeah.
also food and beverage businesses?
Yeah, there was a number of restaurants over the years. It constantly fluctuates every season because a lot of the places, the chef will change,
Yep.
and then you got to establish a new relationship with the new chef. So like 98 Center, we've sold a lot to him. We typically sell to Milt's, buys a lot of tomatoes, a lot of lettuce, a lot of Marconi peppers. We've talked about doing potatoes for him, but he wants them processed in a certain way, so. Yes, Ibella's, Arch is tied to. So yeah, it's all pretty much local here. And then we've talked about this season, maybe doing a CSA in Moab. Castle Valley, of course, they're just like, well, we don't want to do a CSA, we'll just come to the store. So,
Help me, what? City's also doing CSA here.
Community support.
You like.
Yeah,
upfront,
Easy
you
does
know,
a CSA, yeah.
And YGP does one
Like,
too.
yeah,
They're,
us too.
they're pretty
And they're,
small.
and they're hard
Yeah,
to
they're
get. I mean,
They're small.
they fill up really
Imagine.
quick.
Yeah, exactly. They sell it.
Yeah, like I was talking to the new guy over there. No, but you're.
I'm sorry, one of the things
Yeah.
I mean, as I go, we all adventure in Moab, multi-day things, I buy a lot of freeze-dried, backpacker meals.
Yeah.
And that's why I see this product is, you're not doing stuff for fresh produce or something, you're trying to sell freeze-dried things. Like, and you mentioned Marshall, I was curious, like, how much does he sell
I
right
know,
now?
I wonder, when I first talked to him, he wasn't selling anything, he's like, I could sell gobs of Cliff Bars, but I don't wanna sell Cliff Bars, but if you came with something local, he's like, I can sell a lot of it.
Yeah. Or like
So-
Earheads,
Yeah.
Pagan, that's what I was like, oh, this.
That's
is,
what the
That's-
influx.
Cause
I
I buy
got
back-
note after note after note about those MREs for the outdoor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what this enables, and we've got just
Well, what-
anything that you would buy
What?
fresh, we can freeze.
Good tasting MREs, not.
Yeah, not the vegetarian.
No. No, REI kind.
Yeah, I just buy
Not
backpacker
into the
pantry,
private
that's
thing.
made in Boulder, and, I'm just like, how much money is just going out of?
Yeah, and that's the challenge we have, is that really to find places to do that right now, you have to go, everybody wants 6,000 pounds, these huge quantities. And local, none of us locally can do that. We just can't, we can come close, but, or we need a lot of manpower to produce and get it ready. Whereas this project would enable anybody that can do some specialty kind of things. And with all the traffic coming in here from people that are, it would just, it'd go.
Yeah.
Have you seen the freeze dried cocktail mixes?
No.
Have you tried $35 cheese curd yet?
I haven't done it yet, no.
Because I saw a video and I just wanna try it.
Do you have them,
I made.
do you
the
have
cheese
them
curds.
ready to freeze dry?
I mean, I have
'Cause-
3 gallons of fresh goat milk in my fridge.
I could freeze dry them
Maybe
at our
cheese
place
tomorrow.
tonight. Our freeze dryers up
Are you
and
happy?
running right now. I mean, well, that's, well, these, Tommy did these, but then Sue and I, we did these, shiitake, these are freeze dried shiitake tops that, are like a gourmet chef would buy these. This is 1.5 ounces. 1.5 ounces turns into, times it by 8, so it's a little less than a pound. So this would go for about, this package right here would go for $10. A chef would buy it, sit it on his shelf, and in a day, a week, or whatever, when he wants to make his special shiitake, whatever it is, pasta, whatever, he reconstitutes this. The reason freeze drying is so much better than dehydrating is because the cooking process, and I'm no expert on it, but we have been doing it, it's the freeze drying process locks in, it cooks and locks in certain nutrients at the same time. So mushrooms need to cook to release their nutrients for them to be good for you. Freeze drying cooks them and then freezes them all in one process so that all the good stuff stays in it. When you dehydrate, it doesn't cook them quite as well, but when you rehydrate, we turn these into jerky or we turn it into something else, we marinate them, rehydrate them, and then cook them slightly, and then that releases the nutrients
Yeah.
that feeds your brain, gives you all the nutrients. That's why I'm so excited about this, is because out of the 100 pounds, I'll probably freeze dry 20 or 25 pounds, freeze dry and dehydrate 25 pounds. Then that is used by chefs, or that is used by Castle Valley or even Moab residents to then make their own thing. We encourage them to make their own products, and then we will help them. I've been in business and have had businesses. I'm semi-retired now, and this is fun for me. But we could teach them easily how to take their niche and what they're really good at, turn it into a product, and we can either supply them with the farm product and supply them with the mushroom product, or they get other product
They want to come freeze dry it, dehydrate it, and turn it into a small business. That's where I think the economic hook for what we're presenting to you guys is that we can put people to work. We can help them build these small businesses. That is, we're not employing them as employees, but we're helping them build these small entrepreneurial interests.
Great. Is there any last question? Okay. No, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for the extra
Appreciate
time.
your time.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for hanging around. We appreciate that.
It's ready for dinner.
Yes. Yeah, we should have brought, and we've made jerky and we're experimenting with the different textures, the different spices and the different marinades. And it is so good. When we give it to people, they don't know that it's not meat. They think that it's meat, so it's a great meat alternative.
Well, thank you all for.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Having us over.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. We made it through. We did pretty well at the time even. So the question now is what we want to do next. Basically, the options are to hold, we talked about at our last meeting, the possibility of having an extra session.
Putting something out, there's a lot of feasibility study requests. For those that don't get it, maybe in your little letter projection or whatever. Point out the EDA technical assistance grant is literally made for feasibility studies. And maybe if they all kind of combine together and do one big one, that'll be a better chance, and better support.
Thank you. Thanks for that. So yeah, last time we talked, there was brought up the possibility of holding an extra session. I know at least one person mentioned that they would prefer to deliberate like not a month from now, like while this is all fresh in our heads. So we have that sort of like held on the calendar if we want to hold another session next week.
Next week, right?
Yeah, next week. And the other possibility would be to not do that and to deliberate at our regularly scheduled May session. So that's basically the decision we need to make, is whether we want to have a motion to hold the emergency session or special session, whatever it's called.
And but we have to send our recommendation on our May meet, or we have to choose on our May meeting, correct?
We should to be on the schedule that we want to be on, so which is like, you know, a good schedule, a reasonable schedule for the commission and everything like that.
So I
Have recommendations made by our May meeting.
Is it possible to have these? I mean, have like the state ladies look at the recording of this and make sure that
Yeah, like get feedback from
everybody
GoYo.
is qualified for this. I'm not,
Totally.
in my mind, I'm unsure about like the housing task force ask. The feasibility studies, I don't know, I'm just unsure if it's direct enough of a.
Economic impact or whatever
They all, and Chris, please poke holes in this, but reviewing all the one sheets against the requirements for the RCG and the training, there's nothing that isn't qualified.
Yeah, I think they
For
all.
the grants, they're all
Okay,
qualified.
okay.
I think the biggest issue is what is our county, or what do you believe is our most pressing needs?
Right.
And
What's the
deciding
biggest
for us what, and I would say secondarily to that. I have really enjoyed this process because I think that there are so many of these projects that even though we can't fund all of them. I heard, like when she was talking about, I was thinking about the same grant process. There wasn't any presentation that was given today that I couldn't think of alternate funding solutions to run them down a different pipeline, and I think we should.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should
Yeah,
end
we
by
can help
choosing
any
yes
and all
or
of
no.
these ideas.
Yes, I think
Before
we should segment them and keep moving them through the pipeline.
But I like your idea, Jasmine. I mean, I do think we should ask for their feedback, particularly on whatever we decide or considering moving forward under the
Right,
RCOG, which is because that's competitive,
Right.
right? So if if it falls in RCG, all we have to ask ourselves is, does it meet the basic qualifications? And then say, and is it really good for
And
our
we're trying to
county,
do both
right?
here, right?
Yeah, we're gonna make decisions on both fronts, but the RCOG, the larger ask, we also need to ask, will this win in a statewide competition?
Yeah, because we don't get to, it's not,
not
the
a-
commission doesn't get to decide, they get to forward it on.
One out of $3 asked for gets funded. or
And-
that was what it was last year anyway.
Deborah was amazing. She was saying, I mean, the second too, that we have something that we feel like is viable, I think that's the point that we ask them to step in and start helping.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Craft
two
and-
different sides of it, right? It's
Yeah.
giving us feedback maybe ahead of the decision-making process that helps us make good decisions. And then making sure we engage to make sure the grant application is as strong as it possibly can be.
So do we wanna like have that RCOG be more like vetted by the state then, or?
Do we only have two?
Potential RCOG projects,
Yeah.
is that?
Is it two or three?
Well,
There
the-
was one that was 300.
everything that's over the $200,000 is the
Regular one.
family farm, the Moab homegrown,
Yeah.
and then the multi-mini mounts and the EMS. That's what I saw.
Those were
Those are the
the
three that I saw that were over the $200,000 threshold, so that could possibly go in the RCOG.
You could potentially have an RCOG ask for $150,000 or 200,000.
Oh,
We might want to consider others in that category as well, so I don't think it's totally just clear cut like that, but,
okay.
but
The larger.
we also,
But
and
that's
this is
also
about,
the
this is the
rate where you're
deliberation
most
process, we
competitive.
also want to bring a lot of money to our county, so we don't want to leave money on the
Right,
table by
right,
not
competitive.
picking a bigger project,
Mhm,
so
I see
we've got to
what you're
balance that kind of stuff.
But it's all, and they also said with the RCOG, it was typically not like a business, it was.
And that's
Well, but
something
if
we
you're
need to
property,
consider.
Project or a.
One, it was one thing. You couldn't do multiple
Right.
under that one, right? Wasn't that, but the other one could be.
But more, yeah, but more recently, we
Typically,
also
like,
heard that it's
yeah.
typically across the state, not just Grand County, but typically it's a government-related entity
Right.
that receives them. Now, we have in Grand County helped direct funding to the Community Land Trust in the past, so we've been the exception before, like. But I think that there is, I mean, the point that was brought up, and I know like Stephen was back and forth with their presenter on this, is like, there is some liability that the county takes on if we ask the county to recommend a project that's not the county itself getting funding, right? Or
Because
like
they
an
are the one
entity,
asking.
because
And
like,
it's going
because,
through.
because there's some possibility, I mean, as big or small as it might be, that if the person, the or entity that's executing the project doesn't perform, that the state would be looking to pull some of that money back, and the county could end up being on the hook for some of that. There's some liability.
Okay, I see
That's,
what you're
that's like a concern. I think we, as a board, should certainly take into consideration, like pretty strongly for those big RCOG asks, like, at least is the entity that we're talking about potentially funding, like financially sound and solid enough that they can manage a big grant like this without us feeling like we're asking the county to take on an
Manage
excessive
this
amount of
extra.
liability.
Mhm, okay.
And I think that's the key. It needs to be able to actually happen, you know, like it, you don't wanna ask for a grant and then be like, oh, here, we
How are
gotta
we gonna
give
do
you this
this?
money back
Right.
or.
No, I
Yeah.
feel like,
You know.
I feel like the EMS district is in a position that they could handle operations of what they're talking about, but I don't.
Yeah, but then some of the others we might need to ask a
I'm
little
not
bit
totally
more,
sure
like,
about-
are they,
Yeah.
what do we think?
So you're asking about in a week to have a meeting about, like, we have two veins, we can go RCOG, RCG. Do we wanna have a meeting in a week to like pick?
To start
Well, the
deliberating and
RCOG, we don't have to make a recommendation on this soon, or did you need it that soon?
by the, I mean, the goal is to have by the end of May. Recommendations that we'll forward to the commission
For both of them.
for both.
And then the RCOG
If
will
we
go,
have to.
has a way
fulfill-
further level of work to do to get to theirs versus, so we want to decide it early just so they can get on the work. Versus like just I mean, because the $200,000 is coming to the county regardless.
Right.
Regardless, the $200,000 comes to the county and we disperse that. My other concern about dispersing it is because we don't have staff right now. Is a lot of mini grants, is just a lot more work on our staff because all the reports that have to be collected and all of that. So,
Right.
I mean, if we could hire somebody by the end of the year and they were doing all the reporting for next year, it'd be different. So that's something I just want to be considerate of. I mean, I'd love to fund.
Solid ask that we're asking for the full amount.
Well, so there was, and there's also partial, you know, so thinking about if we're just gonna fund everybody a little bit, I'd rather not do that, just because we don't have and then also, you know, just because, like most of them said, they can move faster, they can make it happen. You know, if you just get little pieces of it, so.
Yeah.
And in the future, if we have,
I
economic,
have another question on that. So what if there was something there that like maybe asked for a specific amount, but like in the background, I'm thinking, wow, if they just had this extra bit, then they could do a lot more. Is that even something that we could
I mean,
consider?
We can make that.
We
decision.
can say, well, I know you asked for, I don't know, I'm throwing 70,000,
I
but
think
what if we said? You need 150 of this because of.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened last year. I mean,
Yeah.
he got given a certain amount and then was able to use more because there was more available.
I mean,
We didn't give-
generally you'd want to
Well, he
try to
was
be in
asking for
communication with an entity like that to make sure that they agree with you, that
Yeah.
they can do more with
Yeah.
more money.
Okay.
But it is something that we can consider, like there's. just
Based
certain-
on what the county need or whatever. it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that's our
I see what
job.
you're saying. I'm learning.
Yeah.
Still.
Go ahead.
So I would, because I have this on my calendar and stuff, I would motion to meet next Wednesday and have this deliberation, if that's, I guess I was planning on it, and so.
The seventh, and I think we were
I've got
thinking a
called
little
out of
bit,
town on
seems like a
some-
little
Is there
bit.
any way we could do this on Thursday, the 8th?
I could probably Zoom either day. Probably not gonna make it in.
Works for me if it works for them.
Yeah.
I don't care.
The eighth works for me, if we could do it at 4, but would be awesome, but if it's.
4 on Wednesday? I can make,
Either day,
I'll be
at
back in
4.
town at 4.
Like
Cause
Wednesday.
I don't think
would
it's gonna
be
take
way
us 2
better.
hours to deliberate. Do you think it's gonna take 2 hours to
Oh, yeah.
deliberate?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Fortunately, I would love to
know
say
each other
yes,
well
I'm
enough.
optimistic too, and also.
Really?
No.
No,
So
No.
so I, Wednesday, like my daughter's in town, so I'm leaving Thursday and Friday.
Oh,
so
okay.
Wednesday would be like
Yeah.
my day.
At 4?
Yeah.
Okay. 4
So
o'clock
motion
Wednesday.
to move at Wednesday at 4. Do we want 2 or 3 hours?
Well, let's, yeah,
Melody would like an hour respectfully, please.
Yeah, if you're given an hour, you'll get it done in an hour.
Time boxing for 1 hour.
No, 2 hours is fine.
well, I also think that one thing we could do is like. We come in and we start deliberations and
At
we aim
3?
to, well, at 4, it sounds like 4 is, what,
Okay.
we could talk about that in a second, what the actual times are, but. And we give ourselves an hour. And if there are things that we can't accomplish in that hour,
We do it at our
then we
next
move that to the next meeting. I mean, we can also like, we could maybe get done one of the two. If we got RCG
Focus on
done,
one
for
grant.
example, and then we said, but we have these questions that need to get answered before we can make a decision on
I think if you
RCOG.
guys re-ranked them,
We
you know,
can do that.
you guys could, on your own time, you re-rank them, so you say RCOG, RCG, rank them on your own time, and then when you come in, you have a pretty good idea of where, and then maybe you could just share those top rankings with each other, I mean, cause I'm not voting, I'm just suggesting, I'm just here to.
I love that. If you guys are comfortable, what I would suggest is, I mean, there are 2 or 3 different techniques that we've used a lot in the private sector to get faster to consensus. Meaning if there are things that we don't need to spend a lot of time talking on or whatever, I think we ought to be pretty efficient about it.
Yeah.
Like maybe, run 2 or 3 exercises at the beginning really fast to see where we are. And use that as the starting place instead of just open-ended discussion.
Yeah,
I don't
let's
know
talk
what
about
you think
that.
About that.
I think we can
well, I mean, I could easily be
design
like,
an
here's where I
agenda
am.
that works well.
But that's because maybe I'm passionate about the trades and I'm passionate about food sustainability. And I think that our economic development grants should go more towards businesses than nonprofits, but that's just me, and I could quickly do that.
I mean, the one other thing I just want to bring as a point of discussion, just really briefly before we make a final decision is. Are there pieces of information that we do not have yet that you feel like you absolutely need before you can make a good decision? And if so, we need to come up with a system to get those dealt with. And some of that could just be you on your own, like, that's okay if you just need to like call somebody or something like that, like you can.
Like
do
the
that.
applicants.
Yeah, you can do, I mean, you need to be careful about ex parte communications and that kind of stuff. But if you share the information you receive with the entire group, for example, that'd be one way to. Make sure, as long as we're all making the decision based on the same information, that's kind of the main concern there. But anyway, I just want to bring that up because it may play into our timeline if there's some stuff that's like really big and pressing.
I have one concern, not a question. And then I want to track down little curiosities because I don't want to miss any opportunities and I'm happy to do that with people individual and not bug anybody else with it. The biggest concern that I have as far as a question that I think would be helpful to have answered is I'm worried about the timeline on Moa Brewery. because they can't retroactively get reimbursed for
Oh, 'cause they're
spend that they've already spent.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is I would really like to connect with Goya and find out from them. What do you suggest in a case like that? Like, do you suggest, can you capitalize expense? Can you, like, what are the options that we have available to us? Because once they have that, number one, selfishly for sales tax in our community, I would like for them to spend it now, get it done and capitalize on it this tourism season. But they can't get reimbursed for that according to the grants contract.
Could you shift it though, and could they shift it and say, we're gonna use this funds to do those community events events or whatever?
No, that's why I would love, like, it's almost like
let's get an
getting a
answer for that
pre-approval from the IRS, what are those called, something letter? Like, if they could just, if Goyo could give some guidance about, is there a
pre-authorization.
way that they could,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Because if not,
There's two ways to do that.
that
Either
ship
try to
failed.
do some of that in like individual or small group consultation with GoEO and we bring that information to the meeting to share. Which seems to me like time wise, maybe the most effective way to do this. The other thing is to ask GoEO to be at our next meeting and just be able to ask them questions like.
like an answer before we meet.
Yeah.
Because if they're spending money right now,
Yeah.
they can't go back and reimburse themselves for that out of a grant.
Yeah.
So I just think
Well, we
time
need to ask, yeah.
sensitivity,
Which is that.
yeah, let's ask and find out what their options are. So
Okay.
I
Wanna do that?
So-
If you wanna do that.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, let's schedule a call together as
And you
chair,
guys
vice
go,
chair
yeah.
with
Okay.
Deborah, and we'll ask a
Happy
bunch of
to do
questions
that,
like
yeah.
this and bring that information to our next meeting.
Again, the group may not vote for that, but I don't want that ship to sail and have them spend money that they can't get back if there's a way that we could structure it so that they could.
Okay, so.
Be interested in knowing from county planning. Like the industrial versus
A
commercial.
lot of those projects, I was like Sawyer and stuff, I'm like, that, what you wanna do is not compatible. That usage.
You would have to get a CUP, I think, and then I don't know, I was looking at.
That's on Easy Street right next to
Yeah.
where they
Because that
just.
could rule things
said
out.
no
That could
on
rule
the
things
other
out
guy.
pretty quickly.
I'm just,
Yeah. I'm just saying there's.
I guess
there's
that would be
audience
the
for
information that we would need to know is, yeah, the C, like if they need a CUP on Easy Street, if they, and if like the land that Courtney's looking at is. What if it would be light industrial or highway or commercial, or if it could just be highway commercial, or if it had to be an industrial. Cause we do need to know if it's feasible.
but would it be industrial? Cause I was confused if it's inside a shop.
Yeah, I mean, we just
Silly.
had a big whole problem with Moab Heating Cool about being an HVAC.
Oh, I'm glad that you're reminding me
Even
of some of
getting in a
that.
commercial place, it may not fit that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, like,
Yeah, no, that
That's
was a
why
good
it-
concern.
But you've got shipping, so you've got logistics and freight
Yeah.
in and out that need to be considered.
I don't think
you
you're
know,
gonna have
so-
angry
Yeah,
neighbors
yeah,
on
yeah.
highway commercial, but even highway commercial may not fit that
Better
usage.
residential, commercial, you
Uh,
could probably.
I'm just saying, like,
run
you
into
know,
more issues.
and I
I
also,
just looked at the land use code thing, and highway commercial does include like construction of, so I think it would fit in highway
All right,
commercial.
and he
but-
didn't
Guys,
even
that's
say
just
what
interesting.
property.
So it's
it was.
5:59. I want to just be respectful of people's time. So let's come back to the motion.
We got one that.
Yeah,
But you,
so get a
so,
second on
no,
that?
yeah. So Aaron's moved that
I'll
we meet
second.
next week at 4 PM.
Not
Next
Wednesday,
Wednesday at
yeah.
4 PM. We've got a second, Randy. Are we talking about, can you just clarify the motion? Are we talking about an hour meeting and then we go from there?
Yeah.
Or do we want to, yeah, I'm okay with that if we want
1
to start there. Great. Does
Okay.
that sound good to you?
That's great.
Person in the motion, just clarifying it. Okay, so any discussion? Great, let's call for a vote to anyone in support of that motion. We're next Wednesday, 4 PM. Great. Unanimous.
Thanks, awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and if you, maybe this is, we're adjourned. Motion passes, we're adjourned.
Yeah, cut that.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, mail drive safe.
Yeah. I'm gonna do the same word.
I guess we asked Dana to just enter the meeting, right?
Oh.
Sorry, what we can, so just, what do you think we need to do to get, I mean, do we need to do something to get answers about zoning questions?